Welcome to our religious chaos pal. Confluence and late influence. I was eating some pizza, was watching some Eric Rosen, rested my eyes for just a second, and all of a sudden it's 11. Okay, it happens to the best of us. We're going to be talking about evolution and creation. But first of all, I was hit with someone telling me that something happened with Trump, some assassination attempts. So we want to talk about that first. Okay, if you want to join the panel, you can click the link that's pinned at the top of the chat. It's also pinned in the description. I think if I did it right. Good to see all of you. Good to see section 230. Good to see all the people watching. And we got Jacob already in the back. So Jacob, you can be the first one to tell me, I guess, what happened with Trump and what this is all about. And when did this happen? Did it happen while I slept? Jacob, I can't hear you. Is that on me? Is that on you? You're dark on my end. Oh, there we go.
That's my fault. It happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and apparently this man, he's the first black man to try to kill the president of the United States.
So what time? Like, did this just happen?
Yeah.
About 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So I literally was sleeping. Okay. Give me more details, you guys, I guess.
I don't know any. I was live. I literally, as I was going live and hitting my monologue, it was happening as I went live.
So, I mean, I guess I have the most details. I was sitting here trying to think whether or not I should go live because to talk about it, but I'd rather you run the panel. So what happened was he tried to rush past the Secret Service checkpoint, for the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I heard that he assembled the gun in the hotel. So apparently, and he's from Los Angeles. He went to Caltech and Cal State Dominguez Hills. He's a teacher.
What a shocker!
He has a game on. He has a game on Steam that's probably going to sell out really fast, but was a complete failure. Donated $50, I think, to Kamala Harris for president. I don't know what else kind of details do you want.
Did he get a shot off? Did he just run up and then how did?
I think he did get a shot off. Yeah,
there were
miss fully.
Apparently, he hit a Secret Service officer, I believe, but there was
I don't know if he did or not.
Yeah, there were shots fired, but it's not even clear that whether or not it was the Secret Service that shot. But they got him alive.
Oh yeah, they got him alive. Yeah,
they didn't take him out.
Yeah, there's all these pictures of him naked on the ground with a space blanket on him.
Why was he naked?
Because they stripped him.
Is that a thing that they do when they catch you just to humiliate you
maybe
for failing the assassination attempt?
More for making sure you don't have any explosives on you.
Yeah.
How is there not? Isn't there like metal? I don't know how the
he tried to rush past the metal detector.
Oh, I see.
That's why they abused him.
I see. Okay. That's crazy. So what? Third assassination attempt, I guess.
Third one that
we know of.
No. There's way more than 3.
Yeah.
There were I actually read the stats one time on my show. I can't remember what it was, but it was there have been, I think, 11 bullets that have impacted the bulletproof screen in front of Trump when he speaks.
Really? I hadn't heard of that.
Jeez.
Yeah, I had all the stats for it. I don't know what I did with them. How you doing there, Confluence? How you doing? You okay?
I'm doing good. What about you?
I'm about to go to bed.
Tonight.
Yeah, I'm a little late tonight. I had a really great monologue. So my show is a little weird tonight because I normally I do my monologue and then I'll invite some people up and we can talk about what I just talked about and all that kind of stuff. But right before I was about to go live, Grumple hits me up and says, "Hey, would you mind being a part of this fundraiser? This guy's kid was getting ready to go to the army, and apparently just died of a fentanyl overdose like that night. Like we got apparently what looks like it might have been a fake pill that was supposed to be like a Percocet or something, and it was actually fentanyl. And the guy just died. The guy just died in his sleep, like just seconds. And so I participated in the fundraiser, helped out. I hope quite a bit. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And but the first hour I did on deadbeat dads. It's great. It was a wonderful, wonderful segment. You should watch it. It's really good. You may get It
sounds like you're clapping back. Let's not.
No. Actually, I used myself. I don't know if you know this, Confluence, but do you know that I didn't know my dad?
I don't think I did know that. No.
Yeah, I don't talk about it a lot. But yeah, no, it was more from my point of view that I think that all deadbeat dads are scum of the earth.
We know the implications there. We don't need to. We don't need to make that a thing every time you come over here, Grant. Okay, we don't have to.
I'm just talking about my monologue from the night. It was about an hour. I did my monologue for right at an hour, which is about what I normally do. Get it right around an hour, and then I did the show for like another hour and a half, and then I kind of shut down the I guess fundraiser charity thing, and then I did another like 20 minutes, just kind of talking to my chat a little bit. But it was interesting. It was a good time. It was a good show.
And I did hear about that incident with that person's kid. I think Smoking Spaceman sent me a message, but I had already woken up like way too late.
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. It's all good. It's fine.
Hey, Keelan. Why do we know? I guess the last thing about this Trump thing, and maybe there's not enough info out, but do we know a motive besides just Trump bad? Like, are they just anti-Israel?
Democrats doing Democrat shit, right?
Is it an ICE thing? There's always got to be something,
It's just psycho Democrats doing psycho Democrat shit. Like,
did they say it was a Democrat?
He gave $50 to the Kamala Harris campaign.
Oh, so that makes him a Democrat.
That makes him insane. Insane.
Also from LA, I guess. It's a
conservative. Everyone in LA is
from LA. I'm not a Democrat.
No, you are. You are. You're from
because
LA.
I'm from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
You might be dim light, right?
Dem adjacent, yeah.
Dem adjacent, yeah. There you go.
I'll tell you. I always thought of myself as a conservative Republican. And then I went out into the rest of the country and recognized, oh no, I am a liberal Democrat. I just live in like insane Democrat. Like I see the Republicans here, and I think, okay, they sound sane.
Where are you now?
Los Angeles.
Oh, you are in Los Angeles now.
Yeah, but I started visiting the rest of the country.
Yeah, I got you. I owned a house in Hayward, California, which is in San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
I owned it for like 3-4 years, maybe 5 years. Not very long. And that area is absolutely fucking insane.
Oh yeah.
It is the dumbest place on the planet. I honestly believe that North Korea is smarter than that area of the country. They're just fucking stupid.
I think you mean in terms of being foolish rather than because high IQ does not.
Well, just looking for problems that don't exist. Yeah, right. High IQ applied to high IQ combined with boredom, combined with some massive sense of virtue signaling.
So D&D stats: high intelligence doesn't mean high wisdom.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'll go with that. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. That's fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hey guys. Hey Sport Brand. Hey Lobster. And hey Mel, Priestess of the Global South. Wait, this is an actual communist. We should try to bait her on panel. She's Keelan's friend. She's actually a member of the Communist Party.
Oh, really?
Are you that? You're not a liberal like that, Jacob. I hope you know.
No, I'm a California Republican.
He's a California Republican, which means that he's like he's probably more like a blue dog Democrat in the rest of the world.
Sometimes that's how I feel when I join YouTube panels. It's like there's different branches of conservatism, is what I've noticed. That have radically different ideas.
I thought I was very, very conservative, and then I saw, oh my God, the red states have lost their minds.
Yeah, I live in a fairly red state.
So I've always been very interested in government and public administration and all that stuff. And I did not realize the level of corruption in the red states. Like, I would always hear Democrats talk about the level of corruption in red states. And I would be like, what are you talking about? Red states sound great to me. And then I went and visited a bunch of them. And the level of corruption is just
like what? Like what kind of corruption?
Well, so because Republicans are like, oh, they're all crooks and like don't let the government do anything, etc. Like the Cheneys, like I did not realize until they're from South Dakota, right? I did not realize until I went there that they are like really seriously corrupt. I did not realize the level of corruption of the Cheneys, and frankly, all the people who get involved in government.
I think that any politician is probably fairly well. Let me rephrase. Any politician that's been in office more than 2 terms is probably pretty corrupt.
Didn't this just happen with Ilhan Omar, where I saw something about how she evaluated herself as like 50 million and was like, no, I made a mistake when she got called out.
Yeah, she's beyond that, but like Democrats
beyond that, that's beyond corruption.
Right. I mean, her father was a third world
dictator. You can say dictator. It's fine.
Yeah, and she came here and she's like, oh, let's continue doing the same.
Yeah.
But see, we like. I
guess I don't.
We expect our government to actually do stuff for us. So you don't. I mean.
Well, I don't. I don't expect my local government. I really barely expect my local government to keep the lights on, and I'm annoyed at having to pay them to do even that. I don't want to. I live in a pretty red state. I live in Tennessee. I'm outside of Nashville, about 30 minutes. I live in a very red area, and I'm telling you, man. As far we actually it's our populace here will actually call out corruption so fast. It's crazy. So we had 5 years ago. Probably in like somewhere like 4 or 5 years ago, the mayor and the city council all had something to do with real estate. Like all of them. Like they owned a real estate like brokerage or office, or they owned a construction company, or they owned a services company, right? Like they all did. And one of the things that happened that, which it probably would have gone unnoticed if there just wasn't so many eyes on them, but the county had bought a large plot of land for Greenway. We do a lot of greenways here because because we're used to farmland getting lower taxes, but in the city you can't really do that. There's some different laws there. So what they do is they do greenway. If you have a house that's borders a greenway and you don't develop it and you don't fence it, then you get a tax break, right? Mm. And which is, everybody wants to pay lower taxes. So it's very effective. And so they bought this to enhance Greenway. But what they ended up doing is that after about 5 years, everybody gets voted out, or, a lot of them got voted out. There was a turnover, and the new guys coming in, they all owned real estate companies, and they set it up so that that the county and city would sell that property to them, and they bought it, and then they started developing it. And it wasn't, I I don't think the ink was dry in a contract before it was in the newspaper and they were getting their raked over the coals. And in truth, it probably wasn't actual corruption, because I think it was a bad buy to start with, just location wise, and how they were going to have to try and make this greenway work. I think it was just sold to the public as, they just needed to spend some money, right? And but I don't know that it was actual corruption, but it looked close enough that they're all gone now. Like they're all gone. Like the mayor's gone. They got voted out the very next election. It's just like there, and it was like one of the big things in all the papers and everything. So I guess maybe I don't see it quite as much in my state, but I can certainly look around for corruption, government corruption everywhere, and Nashville is under kind of a reformation right now, where we're getting rid of a lot of the Democrat slop that has been in there for so long, but it is so hard to root out. It's crazy how tied into everything it is. And, just as an example, we 2 years ago, of course, we're a no income tax state. There's no personal income tax. And we have some interesting business taxes and things like that. And but we operate basically on a budget surplus every year. Mm. And Governor Lee said basically that when it came time for the DOE wanted to send us a bunch of grant money, but the strings that were tied to it were interesting. Like you have to teach certain studies, you have to do this, you have to do that. Nobody wanted to do that. And so we refused the federal money as a state, Governor Lee refused to take it. And wow, he was castigated by the Democrats, by the few Democrats in like Knoxville and Memphis as, oh, you just don't want to take that money. And yet we operate at a budget surplus. Why do we want to have this extra money that we're, to continue to make our taxes higher? Why do we want to do that? So, but I don't know. I think if every state was run better, they ought to operate at a budget surplus, not a budget deficit. It's absolutely infuriating to me that the average Californian will point to themselves as the 7th largest economy and one of the largest payers of income tax or federal taxes, and yet they literally use more tax money than any other state, and maybe any two states put together, because of their social programming. And I think it's interesting. I think it's a very I think it's a sad thing, and I think if you could actually get it passed through Congress that states, basically needed could not get federal funding without a balanced budget, then it would, that would change. That would change a lot.
Sorry, I have a real question. When is Tennessee going to adjust their border so that Georgia can get part of the Tennessee River?
Probably never.
We're not going to
Tennessee's current border is at the wrong place, and they won't move it.
Beyond the borders, Grant, I know you have you turned to a pumpkin at a certain point. I'm excited.
I was literally just doing a drive-by. I was going to come by and just hang out with you I intended to the other night and ended up staying like 2 hours.
Do you have enough time to talk about religion for a bit? Because I want to pick your brain a little bit. And the other panelists.
Yeah, I'll answer some questions, but I don't debate religion, so I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, well, I guess, okay, so I wanted to ask, I guess, what your thoughts were on evolution, and all of you guys, okay? Mm-hmm. So, does evolution disprove original sin? Or is there any inherent problem with holding to evolution? How does this work? Because the basic idea, this is what I think, right, is that if you have evolution, then you have a bunch of death. You have corruption happening before Adam's mistake. So it's like some pre-Adamic fall or whatever. So is there a theological problem there?
Okay,
I don't know. I don't know that there is, because.
Can you define original sin? Because I'm not a Christian.
Oh yeah, sorry. So the idea is that like with Adam, either if you're, well, I think Orthodox believe in ancestral sin, but basically the idea that sin entered the world through Adam's sin, right? God made Adam and Eve, innocent, and that they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and they
So-
plunged the world into sin. But if evolution is true, then to even get to Adam and Eve, then you would already have to have a bunch of death, because the idea is that sin brought death and corruption. You'd already have to have that. You'd have to have animal untowardness happening for years and years and years and millions of years to get to humans.
Yeah.
So it
So,
puts the cart
I've
before
heard a
the
couple of
horse.
different versions of this. Again, I'm not a biblical scholar, so I'm not even going to attempt to like really get too deep into it. But I'm honestly just not really qualified to say much on it. Although I've heard it opined that if you there were already people on the planet that of some sort, right? But they were not God's people, and God created His people based around Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve were created to be pure and to be without sin. They then created sin, and then God cast them out of the Garden of Eden, and that's how you get all of these other warring tribes over time. But I'm probably really butchering this, and it's probably not like I'm probably not being like super accurate.
I think I've heard that idea too, but I guess the problem would still be, I guess, and not even necessarily, I'm not trying to get deep into like the Bible or anything, more just like what the implications of that would be. That would mean that when God like makes everything, He like puts death as a part of the system, right? Like that's not a responsibility.
Well, I think
of,
death
like,
was
the
always
fall.
going to be part of the system. I mean, animals die. So here's how I interpret it. Right? Like, let's just if I grant that these biblical scholars who offer up the explanation that there were already different tribes here on Earth, and that when the way that the Bible is interpreted is by most people is slightly off, and that the reality is that God created Adam and Eve in His image, so they were different slightly than the other people and without sin. And then once they were corrupted by sin, then he I guess you could almost say gave them the gift of death, right? Because everything else dies. All the plants, the animals, everything else died. Humans were or at least Adam and Eve at that time were not part of that. They were separate. They were made in His image, and they were perfect, and all of that. Once they sinned, then as a reward for that, if you will, He gave them the gift of death, which He had withheld from them. Whereas all the animals and everything else obviously did die. So that's look. I know that I'm probably really butchering that, so don't take me too seriously on it.
No, I think it's a fair thing. But does this change, I guess, how we think of God? Because usually, like, the whole story is that like all the suffering and the death that we see, that's a result of sin. But if that happened beforehand, then it's like God just chose to create things, and He's like, you know what? I'm just going to create animals that suffer, animals that do untoward things. I'm going to create everything to die. Like that's just like nature's red in tooth and claw. Like, it seems weird. I remember seeing this, Answers in Genesis. They're like that super like fundamentalist, like, 6-day creationists, people, like young earth people. And they had a little stupid comic like they always do. And it showed like Adam and Eve standing in the garden, and there's like all these like bones of like dead animals beneath them, and then and it said like, oh, God called all His creation good, and it's like trying to make fun of evolution, because like if everything is good, why would God bake in suffering and death into that system and be like, yeah, this is good? Like there was no other way to do it. There was no way that does that mean like
no?
I think
you're looking for a reason in something that you're trying to answer a question that only exists if you ask it in a very specific way. If it's the fact that all the other animals, all the other creatures died, but humans did not, it's not that He did not intend for them to, or whatever, or maybe He did. Maybe He gave them the gift of eternal life to start with, and He removed that gift when they sinned, because when the serpent or the angel, depending on, again, I'm not a biblical scholar, so I'm not really sure how far you want to go with this, but when the serpent or the angel, depending on which version, introduced sin into God's perfect creation, he saw that he couldn't. My guess is that, and again, I'm guessing. I'm not God, so my guess would be is that he looked upon his perfect creation and realized that if he was going to have humans and not angels and not images of him, not just images of himself, but actual copies of himself. If he wanted humans, then the possibility of sin existed, and therefore
I'm questioning that perfect. I guess it definitely the way
so. All
we
right,
say
so
perfect
all
creation,
right.
it hits
So
different than
God
what we
created the
normally
angels,
think.
correct? God created the angels, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are angels perfect?
Depends what you mean by perfect. I would
Right.
say.
But I mean, but angels are without sin, with the exception of Lucifer, correct?
Well, 1/3 of the angels are demons, I guess. So
Yeah.
if we take that literally, yeah. So the demons probably not, but yeah, the angels. I would say.
Okay. So again, we have the exact same example, right? That God created these angels, his servants, emissaries, if you will. The ones that sinned were cast out, went to hell, wherever that is, whatever you want to believe it is. The ones that did not remained pure and exist today in heaven. It's if you take just that simple path and apply it to humans, it's the same thing. He created something that he felt like was going to be perfect. He intended for it to be perfect, but in giving humans free will and giving choice, you can get sin.
I mean,
And
that works with human death, but I guess what I'm saying is like it strikes at least like there's ways to theologically square the circle, but it strikes it as odd to talk about humans being.
I don't think I'm squaring a circle. I think it's just.
Well, no, I guess what I'm just saying when normally when we think of like a perfect creation, we probably don't think of like millions of years of animals slaughtering each other to slowly evolve to get to a point where we're like, yeah, now this is like what we'd call human beings, you know? Like that's not like it doesn't
right. Actually, I agree with you. I mean, I agree with you. When we think about this, we don't think about. I agree with you. I don't think that we think about thousands of years of what we would call human evolution. We see big gaps, right? Even in what we consider science now. So if we look at that, then now you've got intelligent design and all of these other things, which I'm not really qualified to speak on. I haven't studied it or anything.
Do you believe in evolution? I guess is a maybe more related question. Like, do you even believe in that, or do you think that's some gay shit? Because it is a little gay, but I think it's probably true.
I think that I believe in a kind of a duality evolution. I think animals were probably, obviously there's we can, with a lot of animals, trace straight back through evolution. And I think that that's probably true. As far as humans, I mean, technically we're still evolving, but I don't know if it's so much evolving as adapting, right?
Yeah, but you know what I mean? I'm asking about like the general theory that like, eventually we had like basic, single cell organisms, and then there was some chain that eventually got.
Oh, okay. You're talking about like beginning with a single cell and ending up with a human. I don't know.
No, that's not true.
I have a hard time getting there, my friend. The millennia that would be required is beyond comprehension.
Yeah, if you study the science, that's not true.
Okay, well, does anyone on this panel, I guess, believe in that?
No, I mean, well, science isn't based on belief, and that's what evolution is based on.
Exactly. Science is based on what we can test and prove.
Yeah, and I've studied this for decades.
Which is very interesting. You know what? I like this Max guy because he's one of the first people on the internet that's ever actually got it right.
Thanks.
He's one of the only ones.
Well, I think there's
because most people will say exactly what you said. Science is fact.
Yeah, well,
no, science is not fact.
I didn't say science.
I'm one of the
fact.
few people.
That's some gay shit. I'd never say that.
I'm one of the few channels on the internet, possibly the only one that comes from a scientific stance that isn't religious. So when I go,
my background is in my original background was in chemistry and biology.
well, if you just look at math, there's many solid sciences that disprove the evolution religion, because evolution
Keelan's a math major, so he's being triggered right now. The guy in the bottom right. That's Keelan, by the way.
Well, this is the thing. People that claim to be math majors don't have, critical thinking on it, because if you look at this
Shut the fuck up. Claim to be a math major.
If you look at you see, all right, you see that trigger.
No critical thinking.
You're not going to suck me in for 2 hours tonight. I'm going to fucking bed. You cock.
You know what it is?
Bullshit. We have this monologue.
I almost had
He
you.
doesn't know
If you
anything
stayed a little
about.
longer.
Once you
Please
see the
save us.
reaction,
Control your
once you
channel
see-
so I can say goodnight.
Once you see the immature reaction,
Yeah, Brett,
of
hold
somebody,
on, so Grid can do his sign off. Grid, I almost
All right.
had you. If you just got a little into the weeds,
Bro,
you'd be up
I'm
till,
going to
1 in
bed.
the
I'm
morning.
getting up in the morning. I'm taking my kid fishing so we can find some evolutionized fish. And
Based.
I mean, just look at all right. Look at this simple
Wait,
mathematical fact.
wait, hold up, Max. Grid is going to turn
yeah,
into a
Max,
pumpkin.
good
It
to meet
happens
you.
to
Come
him.
over my channel sometime and we'll hang out and we'll talk some shit.
Yeah,
I don't know about the guy in the red room there. I don't know. The red light district's usually whorish, and we all know how I feel about that kind of shit.
True.
Jacob, you're cool. You're all right.
Yeah,
I
come
mean-
over to Architects of Humanity whenever you want, and we'll talk, or I'll come over to your channel. What's the name of yours? Motorsports?
And
Yeah,
Unreasonable Man.
I put it in the chat.
And Unreasonable Man is the name of my channel. Guys, I got to get out of here. I got to go to bed. You guys have a great time and talk a lot of shit to each other, okay?
Oh, Seven's Grid.
See ya.
Take care.
Thanks for stopping by. Okay,
Yeah.
so now, yes, continue that fight. So tell us how Keelan, the guy in the bottom right, is
Well,
retarded.
first of
I want
all,
to hear more about that.
Yeah, when if you're gonna have a civil conversation, when somebody gets angry, it just shows you right there the level of their immaturity. So when you look at math, right, just regular math, right, and you say, okay, let's make it simple: 20 amino acids to form a protein. By chance, you're looking at 10 to the 20th power, 100 quintillionth. Now that is improbable. Nothing's impossible. That is improbable. Not to mention the form of lipids, the form of carbohydrates, a nucleus, a cell wall. When you look at this, it's insane to think that that's going to happen by chance. Things like blood clotting, things that cannot be formed by chance, because if you're missing one of the 12 major components, the organism bleeds to death. The next step is there's no 2-cell, 3-cell, 4-cell, 5-cell organisms. You go from a single cell, and then it jumps magically in the religion of evolution to hundreds and thousands. And to analyze something with the scientific mind, to say, okay, we're going to use the method, we're going to use empirical science that can be repeated and measured and observed. That does not exist in the religion of evolution. You have lie after lie after lie. And when I asked evolutionists this, right, when I say, can you point out some of the lies that people have been caught doing and have been expelled from universities, they had to overturn the evidence, they can't state this. It's like asking the police to investigate themselves. So this is what you get with the religion of evolution.
Yeah, I actually don't disagree. Like, my stance is I think evolution is true because I think there is evidence for it. But I think in the same way with like the it seems like a series of incredibly improbable events happening repeatedly for millions of years to get to us. And so I think that God is so baked into the system that there is some element within cells themselves, or maybe the whole universe, that is like trying to get to consciousness. So not really like intelligent design, but some like related thing that, because I'm a panentheist. Okay, so I think that God is within the system and he's coming out. Like an example of what?
An example of why you think it's true. So you said there's examples of why you think evolution is true. Like you think?
Yeah, I guess I just like the sheer amount, I guess, of like species is like in the I guess hundreds of millions. Like there's so it's not like there's the more you look into it, the more like problems there is. I think with God, with like the typical like young Earth creationist thing of doing like some type of special creation, right? Like I guess because you would need like I guess another theory
No,
about
no,
like,
I
what
just
happens.
want one like any scientific proof. So not a belief. Like I understand what you're saying. You're saying
I didn't give you beliefs there though. I mean, I'm just saying like
okay. So the belief is you're not giving me a solid thing to go on. Like one thing. Can you name one fact at a time where you say, okay, this right here shows you that evolution is true?
well, I guess I thought I answered with like if you have all of these species and they all seem to be related, like when well, not all, but a lot of species are related,
how
right?
are they related? How are they related?
Like genetically, I suppose.
All right. Suppose is a belief,
Well, I
and
can't remember what the word is, but when they share like similar structures, you know.
Oh, okay. Homology, right? So homology, similar structures. When you have something that's similar, that does not mean it comes from each other, that it transforms into each other. Like vodka and water look exactly the same. That's more than similar. So does formaldehyde. They are dramatically different when you look at them on a molecular level. So when you look at homology, when you look at, say, the bones of a bat wing, the hand of a human, the flipper on an animal that's a water mammal, these things look similar. That's homology, right? The study of similarity. Homo, similar, same.
Right, that's not what I'm more. There's a different word. I'm not really into biology.
Okay. No. Well, this is what I'm saying.
About like the expression of genes, whatever that fucking
now,
word is.
Now you're getting into it. So the expression of genes. This is where you see the dramatic difference. So first you have homology, similar structure, the study of similarity. And then when you look at it genetically, then you start to say, wait a second, this is totally different. These things are so dramatically different that they could not come from each other. And again, evolutionists have a way of creating these imaginary categories of a common ancestor. There is no name. That is Fantasy Island to say that, oh, well, this ape and this baboon and this chimp and a gorilla and a human have a common ancestor. What is the name of that common ancestor? There is no name because it's created in Fantasy Island.
What's the other I guess hypothesis? Like if you have, I don't know, let's say for example you have like 20,000 species of beetles that can't reproduce and make like viable offspring. So they're different species. They're all kind of like beetles, but like where do you think God made 20,000 different beetles? Like
no.
Christian, are they all in the ark? Like what's the other kind of theory of what happened?
Now like I said before, I'm not religious because when people try to bring it back to like the ark and all of that, we see that a lot of stuff is unscientific. So I'm not siding with any Orthodox religion. But the beetles, when you have adaptation to different areas, you can diverge so much to where they cannot interbreed again. So you'll have some animals that fall into certain categories like canines. Bears aren't breeding with wolves. But now when you see wolves, what they say are breeding with coyotes, because coyotes seem to be outperforming them in some aspect, there is either an adaptation to where they can breed together, they have always been able to breed together, or there's an outside factor, like what you see us doing with the chemicals. You see the atrazine, right? Atrazine is, anybody can look this up. It is turning male frogs into female frogs to the where
they are turning the frogs gay.
No, and this is where Alex Jones got it. But see, this is the thing. He didn't go into the science of it because he wants to sell. He's like, oh, they're doing this, so he hypers it, right? But Tyrone Hayes is the scientist that did the research on this, and these frogs not only are turning female, they're actually able to reproduce offspring. In Lake Erie, fish are becoming hermaphroditic to the point where the seagulls that eat them are producing offspring that are hermaphrodites. You have fish that are becoming egg bound. You have male eggs that are producing, male birds that are producing egg sacs. So these chemicals that they're putting into the system is having a dramatic effect on animals. So when they try to add that in and say, well, look, evolution, it's saying, wait, you got man right now that is using chemicals that are
but you're focusing on something. I think that sure, that's a thing to talk about, but that's like not, I think that's kind of missing the point. Maybe
I'm
I
very
didn't
interested. Can Jacob say something? Like I'm very interested in what Jacob is thinking of about.
Yeah, what are you thinking about, Jacob?
I'm thinking it amuses me how much Christians talk about this shit.
Well, I'm not
Well,
a Christian. I'm
give
not
us
a Christian.
the Jewish perspective.
You don't think you're a Christian, but your presuppositions coming from a secular view that comes from the Enlightenment, which grew out of Christianity.
No, it didn't. It's science. I'm presenting science without any type of religious bias. And I know that Christians, some of them attack people, right? And Jacob, I can already see, is in a deep state of denial to where it comes out like a clown.
True.
It's Clown City. He might as well be a unicycle, put the red nose on. Because when somebody tries to laugh at it and make fun at it, they're not about science. They're about being a clown. So I already stated, I am not religious toward any religion. I'm a scientist, pure scientific researcher. Now, what the Christians might present comes from the science, but then they'll add in, oh, this makes their religion true, which is not true. That is not science.
The opposite of what you just said is true.
Look, you've already stated
Christianity doesn't come from science. Science comes from Christianity.
No, that's not true.
Red pilled.
No, that is not true.
That's kind of true.
Historically, science at least existed before Christianity. Logic and reason existed before that. Anybody can use these three things and say, okay, there are certain things in their books that anybody could say, okay, this makes common sense. But then there are many things in there.
Depends what you mean by science, I guess. The scientific method, can we all acknowledge that came out of Christianity?
No, it did not.
It could have come out of something else.
Enlightenment, like this is the oldest story in the world of like a secular Christian not recognizing, like Dawkins. How many times have we had this discussion about Dawkins finally recognizing, oh yeah, I am a cultural Christian. He's a cultural Christian. He just doesn't know it. And I care not if he does. It wants to understand it.
This is why I say religion, evolution is a religion, because Dawkins is your high priest. Darwin is your pope. Your Messiah.
I'm not a Christian or a secular materialist.
No. If you think you're a scientist, you're highly mistaken. Oh, okay. So where's your position coming from? Religion?
I'm Jewish.
All right. So you're coming from religion?
Yes.
Okay. So if you're Jewish, religion, Judeo-Christian, right? When you try to claim science, that's absurd because they did not invent science. Science goes back before Christianity.
What do you mean? What do you mean by science, Max? Like define science.
He means Middle Platonism. That's what he means.
No. Why don't you let me explain it then? You see, if somebody's asking me a question and you go to explain it, that's not going to be correct.
Why?
I'm explaining to you.
Only you can know what you think.
Using the scientific method, right? That goes back before what people think was created as the scientific method. People have used observation. They've been able to measure stuff. They've used empirical science. Now, it is called empirical science today. It is called the scientific method today. Incorrectly.
Okay, I mean, I guess that's steel manable, right? Yeah, like back in the day, if we're just looking at that, like a very kind of rudimentary thing of people observe stuff about the universe, they made predictions, they would test things. It wasn't really systematized.
Exactly, like Eratosthenes, right? Was Eratosthenes a Christian from Greece?
You are describing Middle Platonism.
No.
Okay, so when you look kind of are.
Method, when he used science, says Confluence, let me tax that ass, homie. What? No, leave me alone.
Oh, thanks, man, Testy. Now, when he was showing tests to see, like, okay, the Earth has a curvature to it with the sticks and the shadows at noon. This is science. This is using a scientific method to say, okay, if you do this type of test, you will get these results, and they are repeatable. That comes before Christianity. Egyptians had that before Christianity. Hindus had that way before. So when you look into a lot of these religious books, you will find things that are astonishing, I have to admit, especially when you go into Hinduism and you go into books like the Vedic text and the Puranas and stuff. And you'll find schematics. You'll find descriptions on how to build certain mechanical items, just like in the Bible. You have the Ark of the Covenant telling you, okay, it has to be these, many cubits, and you need metals, certain metals to put in them. So if you look at this from a scientific point, you start to see that some of it is imagination, some of it is documentation.
And I think we're using science in kind of a loosey-goosey way, though, I think. Because, yeah, if that's all you mean, if science is when the Jews were building the Ark of the Covenant and they knew they had to get metals and refine them in a certain way. But if we're talking like science in like a formalized state where this is how we like gain knowledge about the physical universe is via empiricism, that definitely came out of Christianity, right? Like,
no, it didn't come out of Christianity. It came out of thinking. So it came out of thinking.
Well, sure. I mean, you could disagree, but that's the time period. That's the culture out of which it sprung.
No. You're basing it on Christianity alone. There's other religions that are way older than Christianity.
I understand that. I'm just saying they didn't have the scientific method. They might have done stuff that they were calling science in a loosey-goosey kind of way.
They had more science than Christians or other religions ever showed. Like, look,
that's fine, but it just depends what you mean by science. Like, if you're going to point to like, hey, these people had this like cool invention. If you're calling that science, sure, obviously that predates. Well, then I guess I more mean like the worldview that you can like that. The universe has a set of laws that that stuff is repeatable enough that we can gain empirical knowledge by doing tests, by making a hypothesis, by doing observations, by all this shit, right?
How about we put it like this? A systematic, right, science, an evidence-based endeavor, right, organizes knowledge, right, about the universe through observation, testing, and prediction, right? It operates, it analyzes physical, biological, social phenomena, utilizing the scientific method, right? So you don't need religion to bring this into existence. Now, when you look at some of the things in the religious scriptures of many different religions, you start to say, wow, somebody or whoever, whatever they want to refer to it as, is disseminating some type of scientific knowledge to these people to tell them how to build certain things, to tell them how to prepare for certain things. And this is where, when you look at it, evolution has no stance on it, because it's saying I've studied archaeology for over 2 decades. And when you look at some of the stuff in the archaeological record, especially in artifacts and cultures, you start to see things that are not going to be built the way modern archaeology is telling you it's built. You just look at the Pantheon of Rome, the arch inside. They say that the Romans did not build that you cannot build that without steel rebar. So there was another type of technology put into that. Now, the other stuff around it, yes, the Romans built the later bricks.
I feel like you're just saying what I said, though, is that you're just talking about more like technologies and understandings. That's not really addressing what I said, though.
Well, no, and this is how I'm going to address it. Because to create those technologies, you need science. You need geometry. That's science. You need mathematics.
That's not science, though.
Wait, no,
geometry isn't science.
No, that is science.
That's what I'm saying. We're using the word science in a different way, because I would not call geometry science.
Okay, no, you have a good point. Okay, so how are you have the physical sciences, you have life sciences, you have earth sciences, social sciences. What science
they all involve empiricism, right? Everything that we're calling a science involves empiricism. We think that like the reality is such that it is dependable enough that we can run experiments and figure things out based on those experiments, that there's going to be some that's not just going to be random, that there's some consistency, that we can do tests. Even in social sciences, it's the same way, right? In psychology,
we have some,
we make hypotheses, we test data. It's a soft science, but we're still using
you're right,
a way of the scientific method to come to conclusions, right?
You were right, because the study of human behavior, it's based on studying human behavior. You have your empirical science, but when you study that, it is, like you said, a soft science, because human behavior changes. Not all human behavior is the same. So you have to expand this. Psychology, things that influence psychology. So on that social science, that's a big can of worms to open, and it changes, and you have a lot of good points with that. Earth sciences as well. Things change, like things that we thought we knew. When you study them more, you start to say, wait a minute, now we have to we have to either, if we want to grow properly, change the theory to fit the evidence. We don't change the evidence to fit the theory, which is what we see in evolution all the time. They will change the evidence and say, well, let's see how that fits into evolution. They must have evolved this way. No, this is proving to you that things are not going to happen by random mutation and natural selection in that way.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Evolution can be a type of religion where it's like, if an evolutionist finds something contrary, they're not going to be like, wait, maybe this whole thing's wrong, and maybe special creation is actually true. They're not going to think that. They're going to like find a way to fit it in. Exactly. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. So and to me, right, when I look at that, I say this is an aberration of science. This is a pseudoscience. It is the most dangerous religion because it's a religion acting as if it's science. It's a religion that is not acknowledging it's a religion, and it's hating on anybody who is openly religious. So when
I don't want to like psychoanalyze you too much, I guess, but I'm thinking about what Jacob said. I know you said you're not a specific religion, but I also agree with Jacob that this is probably coming. You probably have some like foundational beliefs, right? Like, do you think Jesus is God?
No. I don't have. All right, now this is where I can clarify. I don't have beliefs because if you think, it suspends belief. If you believe, you suspend thinking. So
I didn't ask if you believe. I said, do you think Jesus is God?
No. You just asked if I have any specific beliefs or core. So I'm just explaining that I either think, right?
Okay. Do you think Jesus is God?
No.
Do you
what
think
do
that
you
there is a
mean
God?
by believe?
Okay, belief, right? It comes from it comes from the word wish. It comes from the word of a wanting, something that is not scientific. To say, I believe this to be true. You don't need any proof because that's your belief. But now, when you say, okay, I think this is true.
That's kind of silly though, right? Like that's not what most people mean if they say believe.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they
It's the
want.
same way when people talk me when I use the word feel, and I'm like, I feel like
I
this.
really want
like,
to have a discussion
with
and
I'm like, I'm not
that will be
that.
so much more interesting than what you're talking about with Matt.
This is
like,
just
this is
Parker
so
versus
8
Jordan
years
Peterson.
ago. Yeah, it's Jordan Peterson. Like, it's Sam Harris, Jordan Peterson. This was 8 years ago, and I'm so over it.
Well, you are over it. Maybe because you've conceded to maybe not being able to deal with some of the information that comes your way, and that's okay. I'm showing you that, okay, you're religious, right? No, you said you're Jewish, right? Are you Judean? So is it the Torah that you believe in?
Yes.
Okay, so that's your belief, and that's fine. I'm not saying nothing against that, saying, well, I don't need to say, well, what you believe is not true, because your belief doesn't need to be based in any type of science or reality.
Okay, now you are just quoting Martin Luther.
No, I'm not. You see, your whole life is quotations. You're not yourself, man. Anything somebody says, you attribute it to what somebody else said. So again,
because I actually believe in knowing intellectual history and learning from the mistakes of other people.
If you believe, then you don't know.
No, that is how Martin Luther, which is why you are a Protestant, you are a product of the Enlightenment. You are just a cultural Christian, exactly like
that's
Dawkins.
a coping mechanism. You have a coping mechanism for anybody that you think
want to believe that, feel free
your way of life, and you categorize them. You put them in a box. You put yourself in a box, right, with your own religion. So therefore, your coping mechanism is to put other people in a box. Not everybody's in a box. A lot of people think for themselves.
There's no such thing as thinking for yourself. If you go to my channel, you will see.
Okay, explain to me why.
I talk about how stupid it is to say you think for yourself.
Please explain to me why. What you just said, you said you don't think anybody can think for themselves. Why?
Correct. Because
why?
It's not possible. A human being that is isolated from other human beings loses their mind.
Why?
What do you mean why? That is a scientific fact.
No, explain why it is a fact.
Because we have such something called distributed cognition. You can look up distributed cognition.
No, I want you to explain it to me. I shouldn't have to,
You shouldn't have to look things up. I'm sorry.
I shouldn't have to interrupt.
I'm not here to educate you.
No,
Jacob, we're on a panel. If you're going to use a term, I think it's fair for you to define the term you're using.
Distributed cognition, I mean, I
don't
wish
know what it
I
means.
didn't have to sit here and educate him, but I will. So a human being, like many other animals, does not have enough cognitive power in an individual human to run that human being. There's not enough cognitive power because cognitive science has proven that over and over again.
How have they proved that?
Okay, go look up the cognitive.
No. I want to know. I want to know.
I am not a cognitive scientist.
So then you don't know what you're talking about.
No, I do know what I'm
No,
talking
you don't.
about. Yes,
No,
I
you
do. You're just trying.
You're making it up now.
No,
I mean, Max.
go look
Okay,
it
Max.
up.
You would agree that the cognitive load is usually going to be shared across multiple people in a society, right? It's not.
No.
So when we say, I think Jacob's thing is that no one's thinking for themselves.
Hold on. I said very clearly, it's an empirical fact. A human being that is isolated from all other human beings loses their mind within a week, guaranteed.
Yeah, but that's not really a distributed cognition issue.
Yes, it is. Why do you lose your mind
disagree.
if you're alone?
I think because we're social creatures. To me that's a separate issue. We're social creatures, and there's something that's happening where we need socialization.
There is something that's happening,
but that's
and
different than their shared load of distributed cognition, though.
This is the thing with trying to think for yourself.
Well, Jacob,
There's a whole discipline of cognitive psychology, and they have actually proven things. And yes, there are problems within cognitive psychology, but I can't. I'm not going to prove everything from the beginning. That is an idiotic proposition.
You have people that meditate away from humans for months, for years, and they don't lose their mind. They come back enlightened. So that
they don't come back enlightened. They come back hallucinating.
Your whole argument and your belief.
You're absolutely wrong.
You're
absolutely wrong.
Jacob, I don't know if he's wrong. If you're isolated for long enough, yes, but no. What you're saying, you can absolutely go for 30 days with no people and come to a better understanding of yourself and the universe. If you're away from people for long enough, you will get crazy. I agree.
People who meditate,
one week. He 1 week
to keep you from basically put your mind into
1 week.
Yes.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. Okay. Don't believe me.
Look, Confluence just said that people can go for 30 days and come back.
Don't believe me.
I don't have to believe
Jacob. I don't even know. Jacob, I think you're doubling down on something you don't need to double down on. There's a degree of social isolation that you're going to lose your mind. But are you saying 30? You're saying that you personally couldn't go and live in some shack for 30 days and try to get closer to God. You think you would be losing your mind after 30 days?
Yes.
That's a skill issue, brother.
I think
that's a skill issue.
The idea that you're getting closer to God actually comes from hallucinating.
That's you. That's not everybody.
I don't know why you think you're gonna Jacob.
You're
confusing things. If you're in social isolation, there's nothing you can point to. Point to anything of what you're saying that's true.
Don't believe me. Don't believe me.
Point to anything of what you're saying is true. There's nothing in psychology that's saying that agrees with you. No, there's not.
This is very clear.
No,
it's
literally not, Jacob. The only thing you would be. No, you're confusing. Just let me speak because we agree with each other, but you're saying something that's way more than I think you're intending to say. If you were in sensory deprivation, sure, people that are in prisons and they're put in a hole, right? You go crazy very fast. But that's because there's no stimulus. It's not just the lack of humans, it's the lack of anything. There are people I don't know how this isn't obvious to you. You could easily go for 30 days, and I think you said a week. You could easily go a week into nature, and you're not going to go crazy in nature after a week with no people. If there's no stimulus and you're in a dark room, yeah, you're going to start hallucinating after probably 24 hours. If there's nothing to do and you're just alone, yeah, you're gonna go fucking mental. And so that's what psychology says. Psychology doesn't say if you go for a week into the forest, you're gonna lose your mind.
Anybody who doesn't believe me is welcome to look into the scientific literature. You haven't.
That's my degree, Jacob. It's in psychology, right?
That's fine, but you can go ahead. Confluence.
It doesn't matter.
I am going to say one more time. Anybody can look into the.
Can you say more? Because so you're talking to somebody. So I'm telling you, I've looked at the literature. You're saying I'm not. So can you point me to some study or anything?
John Vervaeke. I told you, distributed cognition. John Vervaeke, cognitive psychology. There's a whole discipline.
Distributed cognition is not the same thing as what you're saying, Jacob. That's not the same thing.
What is it? You didn't even know what it was before.
I knew what it was. I asked you to explain.
What is distributed cognition then?
Distributed cognition is that the cognitive load is displaced among a population and I agreed with the context you brought it up, because there's no way that when we say we're thinking for ourselves, no, it's like we're obviously a part of our environments. There's no one person can know everything. And so we have cultural and shared stuff, and all of the intellect is kind of dispersed to lessen the cognitive load. That's true. It's a different claim to say that if you go a week, if I in society now, I just take a week retreat somewhere without people, that I'm going to lose my mind. You point to some study that shows that. Point to anything that shows that.
So there are people who do learn meditation techniques to prevent such things after long, because they have ways of actually stabilizing their cognition. But your sanity is outsourced to other people. Like it's not just a matter of other people know things and therefore society can progress. It's a matter of even being able to live without civilizational progression, which a lot of people don't have civilizational progression. The people on Sentinel Island, they're not progressing as a society technologically, right? They haven't been for at least hundreds, if not thousands, definitely thousands, I would say, actually. But whatever. In order to function as a human being, right, you will end up like your brain cannot. There is not, and so where cognitive science came from is an attempt to get computers to model human thinking. And when they were doing that, they realized, oh, there's not enough cognitive capacity in an individual human being to run the body of that human being.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. These are like different claims that you're making. Then you're taking something that is valid and you're extrapolating into areas that are like just not valid. And I guess I don't. Maybe we're beating a dead horse, I suppose. But I guess I think you're punting outside of that to say that, like, to go off into a week into some into a forest retreat or to live in like some shack, that you would like lose your mind. I think you should try that, and you'll find you probably will lose your mind.
No, lunch, man.
A person who doesn't know meditation techniques will lose their mind.
You're out to lunch, man.
Sorry, my headset was cutting out. What'd you say, Jacob?
I said if you don't know meditation techniques, you will lose your mind.
That's not true. Somebody
after
a
week. Jacob, this is crazy. This is crazy. I don't know. Like, I don't. My mind is not super robust, but I have been isolated for longer than that, and I have not lost my mind. I mean,
possibly people on the spectrum, I could possibly see being able to do something like that. Maybe
Jacob, people go out in nature.
Jacob, can you point to any study that shows this, that people like not isolation, but people just go into nature for a week and that most people lose their mind? Can you point to a single study at all that has ever shown that in all of psychology?
I don't have a study in my at my hand.
Sure, that's fair.
Of course you don't.
This is why I'm saying, look, if you don't believe me,
we don't need to believe. Science isn't based on belief, man.
I have researched it though, Jacob, and I'm telling you it's not true. I have looked into it. So I don't know what else to tell you.
Confluence, just research it again.
A Confluence, there's a good comment by Section 230. He says he spent a year in the woods and, off the land, living off the land, hunting, never meditated, totally fine.
Yeah, like, I don't know. This is such a crazy take, and Jacob, you're doubling down on something that's so insane to me. There's testimony from absolutely everyone. There's no data pointing the other direction. Especially if we're talking a week. I understand if you're
Hold
saying
on,
like
hold on.
you're
I have to
Unibombering it
ask.
up and you
Section
don't
230.
talk to anyone.
Are you saying you were a year in the woods without ever encountering? Hold on. I do have to kind of. I didn't want to talk about pets, but pets actually do matter in this.
Now you're moving the goalpost.
Look,
You're
I'm not going to give all the caveats, but
Keep thinking that.
I have a very hard time believing Section 230. No pets by himself for an entire year. I'm
no
sorry.
Pets.
I have a very hard time.
Would you believe he could do that for a week, Jacob, or is that just like outside? You think that's impossible? You have to be on the spectrum to be able to live in a shack for a week in the woods. That's
no,
crazy.
I think you could live in a shack for a week in the woods if you are somehow exceptional. I don't think the average person could.
I think you're speaking for yourself, Jacob. I'm
not, because I'm kind of autistic.
I think
and I know meditation techniques, and I personally
obviously
can do things like this.
Jacob, I think if you're isolated and you have nothing to do, then I would agree. Again, like the sensory deprivation stuff, I agree. If you're like confined to a set spot and there's like no outside and you have no books, let's say, no, but you couldn't take
books are distributed cognition, I have to say, but whatever.
Okay. So you're adding more caveats as we go. So no books, no music, no animals.
This is the problem with having a discussion. Like we can't have a discussion where I add every caveat to every sentence I say. Like that's not a way of discussing things.
Right, but then you have to be specific to say in what conditions would a human lose their mind. You have to be at least a little more specific. If you're saying like
I am telling you, average human being is isolated for a week from other human beings, that person is going to lose their mind.
What about the above average human being?
The more intelligent you are, the worse it is.
Really? So how do you know this from not being
intelligent? Because I'm a clinical social worker.
But that doesn't mean you're intelligent.
How does that qualify you to know anything about what you just said?
I'm intelligent.
All right.
Because I deal with a lot.
If you're not intelligent, right?
But that's a selection bias, Jacob. You're dealing with people that are already like mentally at the edge, and sure, if they're isolated, it's gonna have negative consequences. Like no kidding. But you're not looking at the average person as a social worker.
I'm
Jacob,
also
you're not dealing with the average human being.
I am also depending on cognitive scientists. I believe
you can show no quotes or no studies or no anything.
Come on, Confluence. Just because I'm not going to go write a research paper for you doesn't mean I'm not actually relying on actual cognitive.
I understand. I agree. It's unfair for me to like. I understand. It's unfair for me to like expect you to have a study off the dome. I understand that. I get that. That is unfair for me to ask.
It's not like I prepared for this discussion.
I know.
We're not going to ask for proof, man. Don't worry about it, man. Just
you don't have. Why do you need proof from me? It's not true.
We're never going to get it. We're never going to get it.
But Jacob, do you at least understand? Because like Jacob, the middle ground I try to offer is like, yes, especially in your field,
why are
you're
you
meeting
trying
people.
To offer a middle ground? I'm wrong.
Who is hostile?
I'm trying to have like a discussion, I guess. So I'm trying to see if we have common ground.
Social network.
Honestly, this discussion, I am so tired of it.
Oh my goodness, man!
That's crazy. Then with Jacob, with all due respect, I think you would lose your mind in the forest. Okay, if you can't even handle this discussion, I think you would go batshit crazy. But I think that's a skill issue.
Right now.
I think that's a skill issue on your part.
He's losing it right now. He's moved the goalposts. You got to put your straitjacket back on, bro. I mean, I don't know what's up with you.
I mean, I'm trying to move it forward, Jacob, and you're just like, I'm tired of it. I mean, is that not some indication of something?
Isn't that what I said from the very beginning of this discussion?
Is what?
Like, I'm not interested in it?
Oh, Maryland.
I thought this is like your field. You said I'm a social worker, right?
I am. It is my field, which is why I have zero interest in discussing it on the internet. I come on the internet not to talk about work. I come to the internet.
I'm
So why
sorry.
are you talking about
Who
it then?
brought distributed cognition up? I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
guess that must have been
exactly.
someone
I
else.
did.
That's crazy.
I'm
That's
sorry.
crazy.
I
So you
ended
brought
up-
it up, but you didn't want to
Yeah,
talk about
I
it.
did.
That's fine. I love when I bring stuff up, but I don't want to be pushed on it at all. And I just want to be like, guys, look it up. I'm tired of this. I know I brought it up, but no, I don't want to talk about it.
Well, there's
That's
a
fine.
reason I brought it up. I actually would love to hear more from Syed Jamaluddin. I'm guessing you're into sophistry.
Sophistry.
I mean, not sophistry. Philosophy. What? Not philosophy. What is it called?
Jacob is out to lunch, man.
What's her name? Brett. Whatever.
Hey, Confluence, man. Thanks
Oh,
for having me on, man. I'm gonna try to hop back on another day. I appreciate it. And
All right, Max. Take
yeah,
care,
man.
brother. I'll put your
Blavatsky.
channel in description.
All right, bro.
Blavatsky? Is that what you
Thank
just said?
Yeah, theosophy. That's what I was thinking of.
Theosophy based.
Yeah,
Wait, I don't think
theosophy.
Keelan's reference is a reference to theosophy. I mean, I wish it were.
I thought.
I fucking wish it
No?
were, but no.
It's
No,
not
Keelan's like Islam coded.
No, it's a rep. So I don't know. You might know who this is because you're Iranian, right? Like
I am, and I looked up. I looked up your name, and that's why I thought you might be into theosophy. Yeah,
no, like Saeed Jamaluddin E. Afghan.
yeah. He was very influential on theosophy. In addition to to 12
Wait,
issue
was
as
he?
well.
Okay, now I have to look this up.
Uh,
Don't threaten me with a good
I guess
time.
my knowledge of him is based on like his pan-Islamism stuff, not
My knowledge of him comes from Wikipedia. I just looked up your name. It
Yeah, I've
came
never
up.
heard of this
It
guy.
talks about Freemasonry, like, and I'm like, okay.
No, so they were like competing. Like you're aware of this, I assume, is that there were competing ideas of like what modernism meant for Arabs and Persians. Sorry.
Yeah.
And he was like, we should modernize, but we shouldn't necessarily westernize. And I thought that was pretty based. So I
Wait,
enjoy him.
Keelan, is this who you're talking about? Because maybe Jacob's looking at a different guy, or maybe I am, because I see nothing about Freemasonry.
Syed Jamaluddin Al-Afghani.
Are we okay? Let me pull him up. Is this who you're talking about? Is this the wrong guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, where do you see? There's nothing about
Go
Freemasonry.
down. Go down.
I'm doing a Control F.
You're not going down.
Oh, we have theosophy here. Okay. According to Jacob Paul Johnson in the Masters Revealed, fucking Blavatsky's so fucking based. Holy shit, she's based. Masters were real people. Oh, okay, so they kind of stole. Theosophy kind of. I mean, theosophy steals a lot of people. To be fair,
I figured I'm seeing somebody. I didn't think you were raised Muslim. Were you?
No.
Okay.
I'm not a Muslim.
You're not a Muslim. So I figured it must be through that type of, theosophy type thing that you got interested in this.
I wish Keelan was that based. Okay. He's not.
No. I like the parts of the reason I like the Middle East so much is that really standing up to the world powers, I think.
Well, that's not working out very well in Iran now, is it?
Alhamdulillah. I never know how to say that word.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
I mean, so currently, I think it's arguable. It depends on what your goals are, right? As an Iranian, whether it's working out well for you. But in the past, they certainly have successfully, or at least in their point of view, successfully stood up to world powers, specifically like the Soviet Union. They claim that they are the reason the Soviet Union fell, which is kind of funny if you think about it. But
I mean, I think it is funny and hilarious. I mean, as an Iranian and a Jew and an American, I find the axis of resistance collapsing as it has been to be absolutely delightful. So, like, we're obviously not going to agree with this, but I am interested in understanding how you arrived at this and why you arrived at this. So, like, if you can give me some sort of psychological or personal history or philosophical, like, why are you interested in the axis of resistance so much?
like, are you saying Axis like AXIS?
Yes. I mean that's what basically you're talking about is
Yeah.
pan Muslim, pan Arabist, idea of standing up against the colonial West, imperial.
Yes. But I will say, like, I don't like governance of the jurist. I think Iran's government.
Yeah, it's not very Muslim. It's actually quite Protestant. Yeah,
like I think that is a bastardization of Islam, and
very much so. Yeah, you're absolutely correct in that.
That's why, like, Saeed, from what I've read of him, I haven't read a ton of him, is like he wants modernization in a non-necessarily Western way, kind of thinking how they can keep themselves while modernizing. So that's what I appreciate about him. I think that's a good thing for countries to do in general because it adds more ideas to the pool of ideas.
Yeah, you almost give me vibes of Michel Foucault. Like who are other people that you like philosophically?
I'm not much of a philosopher, but like I only recently started reading about the Middle East. I prefer reading about like Africa and the U.S. of course, but I love Malcolm X. I think Malcolm X is is a very good American story. Like it's just this is how Americans progress through life.
Late Malcolm X, early Malcolm X, the life of Malcolm X. Like what is that exactly?
I think late Malcolm X makes early Malcolm X really nice to read. I think the Nation of Islam shit is really cringe and stupid.
Okay.
And I'm glad that he realized that at the end of his life. I'm sad that he died before he could build on that.
Okay. Have you read Meditations, Marcus Aurelius?
No.
I think you would absolutely love Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. From what you have told me so far, it sounds like to me like you would really love Marcus Aurelius. And Ben, it's not nice of you to try to distract us with pictures of women.
Those aren't pictures, they're videos.
Not so videos of women.
Video is just moving pictures. If you think about it,
And when Grace is so much prettier than any of those hoes.
Well, I mean, this is it's part of my religious ministry. This is my argument for the existence of God. If you're going to tell me that these gorgeous women were not created by a loving God, then I don't know really where to go with you.
You know what that reminds me of? The song Supermodel by Icebreaker. If you haven't heard it, it's actually a pretty great song.
I've come to understand through my daughter, because of my daughter, that actually being extremely attractive is much more difficult than you think it is, and getting a lot of attention, because you get envy. And envy in this world is just an unbelievable thing.
And women are brutal. Being an attractive man is not nearly as horrible as being an attractive woman in that sense.
Yeah,
I totally agree. I've been told I have a face for radio, so I understand what it means to be attractive as a man.
Oh, you're a good-looking kid.
Yeah, you're good looking. I wouldn't say that.
He was just fishing for
he was. Yeah.
Oh my god! I just got
talks about how attractive he is all the time. Yeah,
I wanted to say the face for radio line because I think that's fun.
What do they say? I have a face for radio and a voice for print.
Yeah, I like that.
Which is actually true. Why I for a while went into print journalism, but nobody cared. And that like my YouTube channel with my face and my voice somehow gets more than anything I wrote, which is sad.
Did you have we had Grace and I were talking with a guy for like hours last night who was all about like the little hats and the stuff on CT's channel.
Well, Jacob's all about that. Jacob is a little
I've been kind of busy. I do the internet thing when I'm off work, and work's been kind of busy lately.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, I mean, it's a script, right? It's like they control the media. We all know it at this point, but and not that he was just like a drunk. I was mostly saying, like, because he was. It was funny. It was like the alt-right rant when you're drunk, where you say, "I'm going to get fired on Monday for doing this, but I'm doing it anyways because fuck it." And you're like, okay, well, maybe slow it down. And then he's like doubles down, celebrating
and he's
April
not going
20th.
So this is the thing.
Was a great book, you know. It's like,
so when
no.
Confluence and his other guests were all going nuts over the K word, I thought of it like, okay, it's like the N word. Everybody's like the N word, the N word, the N word, and you can't really say it. And I have to say, I personally believe, and on my own streams, when I'm not on Confluence's streams, I drop the K word constantly.
But no one's going to do that today. Otherwise, I'll have to end the stream.
And I have to say, more people, like, I would say 90% of Fuentes' audience doesn't actually know the K word. They really don't.
Really?
What I think is interesting, Jacob, is not all, but a lot of Jews really don't have a problem with that kind of ethnic banter.
No,
like, Jews are not particularly sensitive to ethnic banter. Like, there still are many Jews who live in urban areas where there's like, it's like the blacks and the Irish and the whatever don't get along, but it's not that far in the memory. But I think there's a little bit of a code, maybe, or like an unspoken thing when it comes to the media. But like, if you actually talk to Jews, they don't really care that much. Sure, you think the Holocaust is fake. I don't really care. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, there's
the internet is not real life. The internet is not real life, and people get offended on the internet for all kinds of stupid things. But like, I remember back when Blazing Saddles was something everybody laughed at. I still laugh at it, and I was very much offended when a stage production of The Producers in Germany got canceled because they're like, "Oh, you can't make fun of the Holocaust," and it's like, excuse me, this was written by Jews. Like, if you can't make fun
I didn't
of
know
the
there was a
Holocaust,
Holocaust thing in there.
Oh, The Producers?
I Blazing
You've never
Saddles?
seen The Producers.
Oh. No, I don't know. I don't know. I've heard of it. A movie?
Everybody. I mean, "Springtime for Hitler" is one of my favorite songs. If you haven't heard "Springtime for Hitler," you really need to listen to it. It's a great.
Well, even on Seinfeld, I was making out with her during Schindler's List. I think is like a Jewish troll of like the piety about that stuff. Like, it's, you know, and remember the uncle who's like, that's anti-Semitic, and it's any criticism of him is, if the burger is cooked wrong, it's anti-Semitism. So I mean, but I don't think there were.
And they had the soup
Jews
Nazi. Come on, like,
right?
If you can't make fun of the Holocaust, like Victor Borga, his whole thing, like, Jewish humor started with making fun of the Holocaust. Like, if you can't make fun of the Holocaust, you've basically castrated all the Jews in the world. If you stop us from making fun of the Holocaust.
But I think there is. Let me say this, and I think there's something to this. Like, Jews should be freer to make Holocaust jokes, like, than non-Jews. Maybe a little bit. There's a little bit of a distinction there, I would say.
Yeah.
And just like, let's say black rhetoric with other blacks, they should feel completely free. Non-blacks, let's say whites, should be a little more careful, but not substantially. I don't.
It matters how you say it. Just like the word Jew, right? I'm a Jew, but if you call me Jew, like,
you are such a Jew, Jacob. It's crazy. Okay.
I am very, very Jewish. I am very fun. I like, if there are people who claim that I am a fake Jew, and it's like, okay, if that's what you want to believe, you go right ahead. but like I
Yeah.
get called a Jew by other people much more than I ever call myself a Jew.
Like
I think
let's say,
with
have you ever heard the like this is something I remember reading an article by a Jewish woman, I think it was, saying like Harvey Weinstein is very Jewy. That whole story is very Jewy in the sense that, you know, the Hollywood producer who is kind of a scumbag,
Okay.
who is like exploiting the, you know, trying to validate himself sexually, because a lot of Jewish men, I do think, are sexually insecure. I don't know why that is, but I've had that experience.
Okay.
And, you know,
So do you know that like 100 years ago, being an actress was synonymous with being like the same way we treat masseurs today, right?
Yeah.
Being an actress meant you were a prostitute. That's what being an actress, like that was part of it.
yeah,
Right.
it was like scummy. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Sleazy.
there's a reason why 50 years ago all the actors and actresses were Jews. Because, in case people didn't know, all the leading men 50, 60 years ago, in order to get the jobs to be the leading men, they had to get on their knees, right? That was just a fact.
I
And
thought back then the Jews were like the producers and the actors were
No, no,
goys
no.
so that they could relate.
If you look at those old actors,
And there's
they all changed their name, but it was Jews because Jews were low status enough that you could hire them as actresses and actors, but they still looked white, right?
Right, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Oh, I never thought about
that's
that.
why
I know there are a lot of
Hollywood
names,
was
yeah.
all filled with Jews because it was a scummy, like it was a low status thing. And now that it's become high status, people are suddenly like, why do the Jews control? Well, because none of you guys would go into like being in entertainment was something that Jews and blacks did. Like that's what vaudeville was, Jews and blacks. Like if you were Wasp,
Yes.
you would never degrade yourself to do something like that, right?
You might do theater though. Theater wasn't as much that.
Theater was theater was the same. It was all you were expected. If you were an actor or actress, you were pretty much expected to be a prostitute.
This is not a good
Speaking
thing.
of
though.
prostitutes,
We agree on
have you
this.
met
We're
Andrew?
trying to- Oh, wait, is he from your community, Jacob? Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, unfortunately, Andrew has spent way too many nights sleeping on my couch.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys know each other in real life. Okay.
Dun dun dun.
Is Jacob a fake Jew? Tell us. Give us the inside scoop. Jacob, don't say anything.
He's Jewish enough for me.
Okay.
Jewish in all the right places.
Hey, so am I, if you think about it. So that's fine.
Andrew is Egyptian, believe it or not.
Yeah, that's what they say.
You look like you're Asian to me, Andrew. Not to comment on your racial identity, but
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
he's Egyptian by adoption. He got baptized into being an Egyptian.
Yeah, the Chinese me died and the Egyptian me rise. God help us.
so Jacob, are you saying this is a bad thing though? I hope we're saying this
What?
is not a good thing. The whole actress thing, like
Oh,
we all agree on
lots
this
and
is
lots
not
of Jews
not
were
a good thing?
prostitutes. Yeah, it's kind of bad that lots and lots of Jews were prostitutes.
Well, just that actress, being an actress was tied to, the whole sexual stuff, which you were leading up into Harvey Weinstein. We all agree, hopefully, sanity check, we all agree this is a bad thing. Not a
But
good thing.
Jacob, would you agree
I'm
that
worried
there's
with
like
Ben's answer on this.
Jacob, would you agree that there's something like in the Jeffrey Epstein thing? There's something about and I think it's probably an in-group, out-group thing. There's something about getting the goy girls who are 15, 16 years old to exploit them.
Goy girls.
The white trash.
Boy girls gone
The
wild.
billionaire Jewish guy exploits the white man's flower. And
I think
there's a kind of way.
I think Harvey Weinstein would have gone for Gal Gadot just as much as any other girl.
Don't you? Well, okay, let me try to go back into psychology. Do you think there's a way in which Jews have felt inferior to like and I think you see this in Zionism. The traditional Jewish thing is I'm bookish, I'm scholarly, I'm small, I'm not a fighter, I'm not like the goy warrior farmer. We're not you right. Do you think there's that dynamic? We're lawyers, we're not athletes.
I would say
what I mean?
It's much more an internalized anti-Semitism. Like a self-hating Jews will often like hate women who are very Jewy and go for the shiksa, and especially a lot of them nowadays, like they love East Asian women, and it's more they try to get away from like anything that reminds them of their mother than it has then it has to do with like hating goys or anything like that, or subjugating or conquering goys. No.
Yeah, it would always have the double side. But you do believe that Jewish women are incredibly annoying.
Some of them are. Some of
the JAP
are,
thing is not like just made up. Like,
well, okay. I mean, okay. So I believe in cultural trauma, and I think I definitely think Jewish culture, especially Ashkenazi Jewish culture, after the Holocaust, like there is real trauma there. So like I don't think you see it as much in like the generation that's younger than me as you do my generation and before. And I think that's because of like a generation of trauma around the Holocaust.
So would you see it like for example, in Irish culture, there's this 400 years subjugation by the English. In Irish culture, women kind of run the show, and the man is assumed to be a ne'er-do-well alcoholic. He hangs out at the pub, which I do think is a response to not being able to be a man and hold your head high, that you kind of just take on a sort of emasculation, self-emasculation that's hard to root out once it gets rooted in, because it becomes part of the culture. And once women get more power than the men, it's hard to regain. And I think you find that in Black culture too. That it's super woman-centered.
If you have not read The Black Rednecks and White Liberals by Thomas Sowell, I so highly recommend it. And he doesn't enforce his copyright on YouTube. So the entire audiobook is available for free on YouTube. If you're spending hours listening to Conflux, you definitely should listen to that before you listen to any more of Conflux.
No, this is a better.
Is that the
time.
theory
Absolutely.
that Black culture was super informed by like Scots Irish and that kind of stuff? Yeah, I know that theory. I think it's true.
I think it is true. Yeah,
because when you meet Africans, you don't find that attitude is very rare.
Have you met Nigerian immigrants to the United States? They are so effing hardworking. Like they are so hardworking. Like if you think it's genetic, just go spend some time with some Nigerians.
But also that like bad motherfucker thing, like like don't step on my sneakers, right? That's not really an African thing. They're very polite, courteous, generally speaking, I think.
Yeah, I mean, look, people who were shipped across the Atlantic in the slave trade were often completely deracinated of their own culture, right? And were fed a toxic brew of chattel slavery, trauma, and bad culture from the South. So,
well, I mean, I think compared to Africa, the American South is like heaven on earth. It's civilized. There's religion. There's order. I mean,
but that's because the North civilized the South.
Oh, I think the South can make a good claim for being one of the last like honor cultures. I know it failed, but it's a beautiful culture. There's like I don't know if you ever read the Southern Agrarians. They've got a really beautiful. I mean, I would say the North became mercantile, which is a way of saying Jewish.
I'm not hating on the South, like there are some very nice people, and I like
No, the culture.
a lot of
It was
people who are very nice in the South. But I have to say, like, you look at the level of development in New England versus the South, like,
Yeah.
which one do you prefer?
Oh, well, I mean, back in the day, Virginia was the heart of, wasn't a backwards place. Virginia was like, you had all the great thinkers, great universities. I understand you say like parts of Alabama or Florida, like, because, without air conditioning, you can't even think down there. But I do the South. I do think the South. I mean, the South's where rock and roll came out of, white and black. So I actually am a big fan of the South, because they didn't have a money-based culture; they had an honor-based culture, and I can see why you would prefer the former.
Hey,
I don't
Got
think
him.
there's such a thing as a non-money based or.
Oh yeah, no honor cultures. No, like the Japanese, they were honor culture, honor above all else. Sure, yeah.
I mean, do you really want
Class.
Would you really want to live in Japanese culture before we took it over and reformed them?
Yeah, it's true. We kind of did make it better, Loki.
We made it a lot better.
Well, I mean, I think many Japanese would say like it's just been one giant degradation when the West took over.
I don't think most Japanese would say that.
Oh, why don't they? Why don't they?
Like the Japanese really love the United States. They really do. I keep on saying, be the American that the Japanese imagine you are. Because when you look at how the Japanese look at America, I wish America looked at America the way the Japanese look at America.
well, how do they look at it? What are you talking about?
I mean, if you want, I can pull up some of my tweets of like.
My guess is that the older generations of the Japanese are not so pro-Western, and it's not because of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but that the loss of sort of. I mean, their population is like their population situation is completely disastrous.
True.
Because of Western sort of.
So
values.
did you guys see the love fest on Twitter when there started to be automatic translation of English to Japanese and Japanese to English? This happened around the end of March, and there was this insane love fest where the Japanese and the Americans were like, "Oh yes, we love each other so much." It became a meme in itself.
Yeah, but you just said that the internet's not reality.
It probably does.
Bro, did you see this on Twitter though, Loki?
If it is the older generation is probably less excited about the westernization
now,
of Japan.
Jacob, what do you think about the theory that the Jews play a role vis-a-vis Christians? The Jews play a role of trolling Christianity that is, and sort of what they'll say of subverting, right? Subverting like the Christian norms, playing a role, subverting, infiltrating, etc. I actually think that the interplay between the subversion and the attempt to maintain is helpful to Christianity, because it's good to have critics. I think criticism is good. And I think there is that role that is part of it. And then I think also there's a different role, but even that sort of like negative stereotype, let's say during, let me just use one example. During the sexual revolution,
Christians would actually read the Book of Romans. Like the Book of Romans may be the very central, if not the most central text to Christian philosophy. Yet I so often find Christians have not actually read it and don't have a coherent reading of it. Now, there are different ways you can read it, right? But all of the people who actually have a coherent reading of it end up being philosemitic in ways that Christians end up calling them Judaizers. Mm-hmm. And I think that's because So I mean, I've had this disagreement a lot with Father Stephen DeYoung. If my channel, like 90% of the people who subscribe to my channel do so because every once in a while Father Stephen DeYoung jumps on one of my streams, including Andrew, right? Like the only reason
He's Catholic or Orthodox?
he's actually Oriental Orthodox.
Oriental
He's Coptic.
Orthodox, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's Coptic. But Father Stephen is Eastern Orthodox. And so he believes in Paul within Judaism. Not sure if it's a extreme version of N.T. Wright's New Perspectives on Paul, right?
I know the author. I wouldn't know that I know his thought, but
okay. So I've been having this disagreement with Father Stephen where I personally think Martin Luther was right in reading Paul the way he did, and that Paul was just a jackass. Father Stephen believes St. Paul was like some holy person who actually studied Judaism and knew things, and Jesus like actually taught him stuff, and he actually believes in the book of Romans in a way that I think is very, it's coherent. Most Christians that I have spoken to do not have a theory of what Paul is saying, certainly in chapters 9 through 11 of Romans, that is at all coherent. And the way you're interpreting the relationship of the Jews within Christian society, I would say is not giving, is like.
I'm not saying that's theological. I'm just saying it's historical. But what's your TLDR on Romans? Because I've read the book, the letter.
Paul says the oracles of God are irrevocable. That God has blinded the Jews. Obviously, I don't believe this, but has blinded the Jews for the sake of the Gentiles, so that the fullness of the Gentiles would come in, right? And in a very real sense, he says, and this is where a lot of Christian philosemitism comes from. And I'm not a fan of philosemitism. I think it's fetishizing Jews. I think philosemitism is a form of anti-Semitism. It's fetishizing, right? But
I see that. I can see that.
Where a lot of Christian philosemitism comes from is actually having a coherent view of what Paul is saying in Romans 9 through 11, where he's saying the blindness of the Jews, that the Jews are supporting, like, and even I think in Romans 3, he says, what benefit is there to being a Jew? And he says, in every way, right? So there's like, philosemitism is a Christian malady. I'm sorry. Like, I think Christians should.
Well, I mean, there are degrees. Like, there are degrees. Like, there's respect, and then there's like degrees.
There's fetishizing. Look, when I dressed like a Hasidic Jew, and I would be in airports, and I would be flying places, and I would meet somebody, like, you could tell you're walking through the airport, and there's somebody who has never seen a Jew before in real life, and it was almost embarrassing how they would like stare, and like as if you had just like you were a biblically accurate angel that dropped out of their Bible, you know. It was.
You mean you had the curls and you had the curls?
I didn't have the curls.
Back Toronto.
But I had the beard and so like I wore the yarmulke. It was obvious that, and I was carrying my tefillin, right? It was obvious that I'm Jewish, and it would be embarrassing, honestly.
Yeah, but that's sometimes just someone who, like the Amish are like that too. It's sort of someone who looks strikingly different.
Yeah, but
I'm not sure that has much to do with being
No,
Jew, just that
these
you look
these were
strikingly
definitely
different.
like dispensationalist types who
Oh,
were like, "Oh, he's related to Jesus."
oh, like these are the elder. In the Catholic Church, we would talk about the Jews as sort of like the elders who remain among us. You know what I mean? Like they're almost like living dinosaurs. Yeah. So,
But I'm
I think
guessing
it's-
Toronto Bible Study has words to say about all this stuff.
No, I'd love to hear Toronto because when you talk about Paul, I think Toronto takes it to the super extreme because he's a free gracer. So I think that he thinks that Paul was a really extreme thinker, and I actually really like Toronto's take. But it'd be interesting from a Jewish
my
perspective.
take as
what you
well. I mean,
Yeah.
the Jewish perspective is we generally have never heard of Paul. Like we certainly have not heard of Paul. Like, yeah.
What do you mean you've never heard of Paul?
I don't think the vast majority of Jews know enough about Christianity to know who Paul of Tarsus really was or what his views were or like.
But Paul was, I would say, among from what I understand, Paul was, from a Jewish perspective, a radical thinker. Like he really radically flipped it to the extent that he said the law was only given to the Jews so they could fail at the law. Right, which
So
would be a very radical take.
That is definitely how Martin Luther read it, and I personally agree with it. But Father Stephen and New Perspectives on Paul, I'm guessing Toronto Bible Study is aware of New Perspectives on Paul and believes it's heresy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically. Not
Yeah.
heresy. Really not
Can
heresy,
you guys
but-
summarize? Because I know NT Wright. I like NT Wright, but I haven't read this. Can someone? What is the summary of this? That is the heretical part.
I'll let the Christians do it.
I don't
It's
know.
just
I've
like-
read
Okay,
it.
Toronto. Why is this a heresy?
It's
So,
the idea that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So maybe 60 or so years ago, we got the Dead Sea Scrolls, and they gave us insight into Judaism at the time of Christ. And before that, you had a bunch of weird Jewish literature that was hanging around, these collections of midrashim and pseudepigraphal literature and apocryphal literature and maybe some archaeology. But because of the existence and finding of the Dead Sea Scrolls, we had a touchstone of, hey, this is where we can reliably say, what Judaism looked like. It's historically we can carbon date this stuff to get a
So
good time
Andrew
frame.
and I actually went to the Reagan Library and we got to see 4QMMT. And
Yeah,
if you don't know what 4QMMT is, that's because it's only been around for about 20 years now. Hasn't really been published, but it is dramatically changing Christian scholarship and Christianity. Keep on going, Andrew.
Yep. Yeah. So because of the giant lore drop that was the Dead Sea Scrolls, all of a sudden we have a clearer picture of Judaism at the time of Jesus. And because of that, you have reinterpretations of the whole Christian movement as a movement within Judaism, not so much as a creation of another religion, but as a sect that slowly diverges over time, right?
I don't think that's news, though.
Why not?
I don't think anyone thought that Jesus, let's say the Jesus movement that we read about in the New Testament, didn't situate itself within Judaism.
Well, Protestants
Anyway,
very
look,
much.
can we just explain this thing of the new perspective on Paul? We just talk about that. That was the question, right?
Well, that's what he was describing.
I want to hear what the.
No,
what
is
that's
he?
about.
Is that what it is? Like, I don't know. The way I understand it, it's this idea that Paul is just when Paul says that salvation is by faith and not works in Romans 4, for instance. he's not saying any good works. He's saying merely the works of the Mosaic law, like circumcision and dietary laws and stuff like that. That's the new perspective on Paul. Whereas the Protestant Reformation is founded on this idea that is any good works at all, anything at all, any kind of like good deeds, will be considered works. You know what I'm saying, Confluence?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, so is he taking away my solas? Is what you're saying? NT, right?
Exactly.
I didn't think you'd
Yeah,
do that.
No more solas.
Yeah,
I don't like that. I want my solas.
I guess it is kind of heresy. It is heresy, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it is heresy. Yeah.
But Toronto, just to situate it for like
I would get it very much.
for
the
people.
Catholics and Eastern Orthodox don't believe it's heresy. The Protestants believe it's heresy.
Yeah, Protestants believe it's heresy.
Well, but what I'm saying is like clearly Paul at sometimes speaks about the law, and what he means is the moral law, the law written in our hearts. He couldn't possibly be referring to
where'd you get that
the Old
from?
Testament.
You got that from Aquinas. That was an accretion.
That's what
it's in Romans.
That's not. Where does Romans say moral law? Where does he say
the law written in our hearts?
Yeah, that's a good example.
All of a sudden, that's the
a good
moral
example.
law.
How is
That's
that
not
not
the
moral law?
That's not the
How
ritual
else would you
law
read
that
that?
Paul participated in, huh? All of a sudden, that's the moral law.
No. Other times he's talking about the law in like the Hebrew law. I understand that.
No. You're just adding all this. These are
So
all accretions. You're getting
the way I usually clarify this with Christians is I ask them to read Acts 21, which I'm sure Toronto Bible Study is very familiar with the confrontation between James and Paul in Acts 21. And I ask them to explain to me what exactly was going on there. Why did Paul go to the temple, bring a sin offering? What was he saying?
It wasn't a sin offering. Hold on.
It was a sin offering.
It doesn't say sin offering. It doesn't say that.
But the Nazarite vows that he was paying for include a sin offering.
Does it say Nazarite vow? I don't know. It doesn't say sin offering. Does it say sin offering? Does it say?
I think it mentions cutting off their hair.
Yeah. So
wait. Can someone give the summary of the issue, Chris?
Anyway, yeah.
I'll freely admit I am not.
It's okay. Familiar. Yeah, it's fine. In Acts 21, like Paul's is in Jerusalem, and then James tells him to go to the temple and shave his head with these other guys, with these other Jewish guys, and give an offering, and also fast and stuff. And so the idea is that, I mean, from my perspective, what we say is that he's doing it so that the Jews in Jerusalem who kind of think that he's against Moses and against the law, that they will be more favorable to him when they see that he's being.
But is he lying? Like, so when James says these people believe that you teach against the Moses and this place, right? Do you believe that Paul actually was preaching that, for instance, Jews should not circumcise their children, or that people shouldn't bring sacrifices to the temple?
No. Well, sacrifices to the temple, if they're Christians, like, well, not for sin offerings, right? That's the idea. Like, the idea is that that's supposed to do that. Christ is the last offering for sin, so that.
Well, was James was the community of James? Was James bringing sin offerings to the temple? You don't believe he was. So when he says that they're all zealous and they don't have any problems with the Jews, why are the Jews having problems with Paul but not with James?
Because Paul's being really, like, I guess Paul's being more vocal about it. That's the idea. I suppose he's got this reputation now as being anti-law. And is it a deserved reputation or an undeserved one? Well, he's not anti-law. He's just anti-law for salvation. He's just anyone who thinks that the law keeping is going to give you salvation. That's what he's against, right? Like Galatians 3, for instance, right? So that's what he's against. The idea that people. So the idea within, including, I would say, new perspectives on Paul, but certainly Paul within Judaism, which takes new perspectives beyond, is that what Paul is preaching is actually what Judaism always preached, which is bringing sacrifices to the temple. And this goes absolutely against Hebrews.
that bringing sacrifices to the temples, like, that's not going to gain you salvation. Isaiah 1 tells us that.
Mhm.
So, like, nobody believed that.
Yeah. Okay.
So it is actually a Gentile misreading that Paul or James were changing Judaism by saying, in fact, I mean, Father Stephen clearly says he believes the early Christians believed themselves to be Noachides, and that Christianity, Paul, in a sense,
Oh man,
was
no,
teaching
no,
the
no.
Noahide covenant to
So,
the Gentile
but,
Christians.
but Jews think you have to like perform some kind of works of whatever works you might say that
For salvation?
Yeah. For
No,
salvation.
we don't.
It's not faith alone. Come on,
No.
bro. Come on.
No,
What do you mean?
No Jews.
No.
No Orthodox Jew
Enoch,
says that.
Enoch,
What are you talking about?
Enoch was given no covenant. He was given no commandments besides the Adamic one. And bro walked with God, was no more.
Yeah,
That's all
but
I'm
they
saying.
had like but
the
nobody
Enochic
thinks that he
corpus
walked with God. He
was
walked with
wide
God.
in Second Temple time.
Okay,
So
I do have to say, I am an Orthodox Jew. I'm not Reform or Conservative.
Splitting off
I am
because of
Orthodox.
this.
Hold on. First, let me just say this. Enoch walked with God. That means he walked in obedience with God. He walked with God. He's in
Obedience to what?
obedience.
Yeah, it was a
God's
question
law.
of it's a question
And then-
of I'll quote the Talmud, Rahmana liba boy, that the merciful one asks for a person's heart, right? And so the idea is that when Paul was saying that Abraham's covenant was one of faith, he was actually just explicating what Judaism believes to Gentiles. He wasn't creating a new covenant.
Yeah, maybe that's true. I think there were Jews in the first century who did believe that to a certain extent, but
They certainly weren't Pharisees. And
yeah,
that's why the Dead Sea Scrolls are so important, because they give us an understanding of what the variety of views were and what the discussions at the time were, which is very different from what Christians have been saying, at least for the past 500 years.
What are you suggesting that the people in Qumran thought that salvation was by faith alone too?
Actually, possibly they were part of the Essenes and not Christians, and the Essenes. That one possible etymology of the Essenes is actually from osim. I don't know how your Hebrew is, but osim is ma'aseh, right? To do, work, right? The same word. And they were as Essenes, they may have in fact put a greater emphasis on the works of the law than Pharisaic or even Sadducee beliefs. And Andrew actually knows a little bit more about this stuff than I do.
I'd say so. Yes, that they also have this idea of different people having a different relationship with God and a different covenant with God, and you see it with the animal apocalypse, how the entirety of humanity is characterized as an ecosystem, right? You have some lions, you have some bulls, and each of those have their, just like how in an ecosystem you have different animals interacting, so too with God you have, different humans performing different roles. So yeah, I think I don't think the Qumran sect would believe you are saved by works of the law alone. Although there's different traditions of
that works of the law alone, but it's faith and works, right? There's some kind of like works-based area or involvement there, right? Like that's the thing. Even like I agree with you, Jacob, that the Old Testament authors believed in faith alone salvation. That's my view. But then I think that by the time you get to like, I don't know, in the first century, I think some people.
What exactly do you mean by salvation anyway? right? What exactly is salvation?
I mean, when you die, you're gonna be resurrected at the end of time and live in the new heaven.
Everybody's gonna get resurrected.
Yeah, but you're gonna live they're not gonna be thrown in the lake of fire. You're gonna be living in.
Okay, so you're going to be judged favorably as opposed to unfavorably by God, right? And what I think the entirety of the Bible says, and I would say, like, this goes back to like Genesis 1, is that it is a question of, frankly, obedience in terms of faith, right? Of, yes, I will do that which God has told me to do, right? As opposed to there's anything that I can give God. And like, I mean, you read Isaiah, and obviously Isaiah was central to the discussion during Second Temple period, right? The book of Isaiah, from beginning to end, is actually a polemic against the idea of sacrifices, of giving things to God, right? Especially Isaiah 66.
Yeah, sure, I agree, but I also think that, like, in those type of, in the discussion in Isaiah is more about like the life that we live in this life and the judgments we can have in this life. Like, I guess, yeah, Isaiah 66 does talk about
what will you give God? I mean, Isaiah 1, it's a shocking thing to hear God say, why do you trample my courts? Right? Mm-hmm. And that your sins, though they be scarlet, will be made as white without sacrifice.
Yeah, this is getting too in the weeds, you guys. This is getting too in the weeds, even for me, okay?
I'm liking this Toronto Bible study guy. You should come on my Bible studies more often.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. Really interesting.
Thanks, man. But no, what we're talking about is how in the Old Testament, the way the Bible is written, it seems to be all about faith alone, salvation, even in the Old Testament, which a lot of people don't get, unfortunately.
I think the New Testament. I think Christianity is almost anti-moral. I think it is a complete repudiation of the idea that doing good matters a lot. I think the whole emphasis is relationality with God and really downplaying this kind of like doing good. I'm not saying it plays no role, but
don't you think it's like the for it to be truth faith, it's supposed to be relational, and then the good works are supposed to spring out from that. So the morals, I would say, are still important, but we got to put the horse before the cart. It has to be a relational foundation, and then the good work should follow.
I don't know. I'm not speaking for the church here, but I think if you truly love God, I don't think like moral failings matter very much. And I think in a certain sense, if you love God, if you love God, life,
why would you have moral failings?
Right, I don't know. If you look at people like, for example, there are musicians who have terrible moral failings. Like I think Mozart was one of them. But if you ever watch that movie, I don't think God cares if you make beautiful music. I think God loves people who, I don't know, are just generous with themselves. I don't think God really wants us to spend a lot of time making sure that we're, doing everything right. I think that's just, I think the spirit of the New Testament is one of like beauty and self-giving, like even to the point where it's almost irrational. It's like this, I think it's a religion of desire. Like I think it's saying like, God's not keeping a scorecard. Throw yourself at him, and then you screw up again, throw yourself back at him. I think that's so. I don't understand how new people, Christians, are all into following rules. I don't get it.
The last part that you said, right? That you fall down and you throw yourself again. Like this is classic Old Testament, right?
Yeah,
that's true.
The repeated, every story in the Old Testament is of human failure and God's repeated willingness, right? The Psalms say, im avonot tishmor ya mi yamod. If you were to number our sins, who would be able to stand? Right? Like that's just it's a psalm that's like foundational within Judaism, Jewish piety.
Yeah, I'm not saying Jesus wasn't like completely in keeping with the Old Testament, but I think it brings out certain dimension. Like I love the parable of the annoying woman who the judge tries to ignore, and she just keeps annoying him into giving her a favorable judgment. It's not even saying that
I have
she's
no
right.
idea what you're talking about. What's this?
Okay.
Yeah.
Toronto could probably tell it better than I can.
He keeps praying.
We lost our Muslim.
Oh no!
We had a Muslim.
That's too bad.
Muslim.
Pull up
He's
the
Muslim
annoying woman
adjacent.
parable.
Yeah, the unjust judge or something it's called. Like
Yeah.
like so the judge, she keeps bugging him and to give him the thing or whatever, to give her the right judgment. And finally he says, "Look, I don't care about this woman, but just because she keeps bugging me, I'm gonna give her what she wants, right?" And the idea is that you should pray to God like that, like, or I don't know. Actually, I don't know how they interpret that one. That's kind of a tricky one.
I love some of those parables, and also the one I've never figured out is the unjust steward, who's a total scumbag, right?
Yeah,
I think Jesus is saying, like, be a scumbag. I'm not here for people to follow the rules. I'm here for scumbags who make it happen.
Well,
in a way, you know what I mean?
You're right about that. He's there for the sinners. He's there to save the sinners, right? But he wants the sinners to stop sinning. He does tell the woman, the adulterous woman, sin no more, right? So the unjust steward, the thing with that is that he's talking about the Pharisees. The Pharisees are there, and they're like first it starts in chapter 15, right? Like the publicans and the sinners, they come to Jesus, and the Pharisees, they're just like they want to hear him, so they get saved, you know. And then the Pharisees are mumbling, they're murmuring against him, like, well, oh, this man eats with publicans and sinners, you know. And so he turns to them, he starts giving them the parables. So he gives them the parables of the lost. He gives the parables of the prodigal son, right? The prodigal son, the older brother is like the Pharisees. The younger brother is like the publicans and sinners, you know? They went off, they waste their life and then they come back, but he's willing to bring them back. But then in chapter 16 now, when he turns to the unjust steward parable, he turns to the disciples. Now he's talking to them about the unjust steward is kind of like the Pharisees. It's like they should be like him. They should, instead of trying to tell people to just pay their debts, they should be easier with them and try to like make friends with them.
Yeah.
And show them that they can be forgiven, you know?
What's the parable of the unjust steward? Isn't it the one where the master
rich
has
man,
a business that's failing and the
steward's about I think about to lose his job because
Yeah.
he's been doing a terrible job.
Exactly.
And right before he's going to lose his job, he makes deals with all wronged, like he gives him 50% off. Just give me half of what you owe my master. We'll call it even, so that he has enough money that when he gets fired, he's got a landing pad. Now,
that's it. It's like he's calling their debt short. So then he's saying he's hoping that if they like him, when he gets fired, he can go and become their steward or something like that. That's the idea, right? To make friends with them.
You know, I always thought that parable was about like Noah and the flood, you know, like, you know, all the animals are getting wiped out, but hey, if we take two, you know what I mean?
I don't see any connection there.
Yeah, it's like the whole business is going under, but hey, if you know, maybe I get a,
or are you use the example of the
deals, I get a little something and I can restart the whole thing all over again.
Yeah, which I think is very Jewish in the sense of like that, like conniving, you know, whatever. Like I like that. I think God is Jewish. I think Christians should be Jewish in that sense, like sneaky, conniving. Don't do anything you don't have to do.
That's
See if you can
crazy.
do it cheap. Because, and I think Christianity is ultimate Jewish in the sense you don't have to earn it. You get a free pass. You sneak into heaven.
That's hilarious.
That is very Jewish, I suppose.
Well, you get into what's called
We're not trying to like say anything, bro.
The trickster stereotype. You know, that is very Jewish. That's very like also folk stories, right? The trickster stereotype. I mean, look at Jacob and Esau. Jacob's a scumbag, right? I mean, he's just totally deceiving his father.
I keep on pointing out the verse to Christians. It says, "You have given truth to Jacob." Jacob was actually the man of truth, and when you turn him into a trickster, it's because you don't understand the world and how God runs it.
But
Well, I think
the
Jesus
story
was a
kind of
trickster.
hits
I
like
think
a
Jesus
weird way.
I think Jesus tricked the devil into thinking that he could win with God, and he took a huge L because he didn't quite realize who he was dealing with. And I think he lured Satan into giving everything to get him crucified, and then by being crucified, he tricked him. Like,
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's too like ransom theory for me. I don't know if it works like that. But the other, I mean, I guess the Esau thing that hits. It's weird that that's like put up as a good thing. It makes me think of like the Trojan horse. How like the different Greeks saw that story as either like super goated when they like know snuck and they thought it was a great idea and it's venerated, but then other Greeks were like, that's like so disrespectful, that's so conniving, that's so awful, and just I guess depending on where you came from in Greece, you were like thought of it very differently.
Yeah, that's where I do think honor cultures are a problem, because I don't believe Christians should be part of an honor culture, because look at who we worship. He was dishonored, and like he's our greatest example. He did not care about what other people thought. Honor culture cares about what other people think.
Yeah,
I just wish Christians would stop worshiping Jews. Like that would be really good if Christians could stop worshiping.
I only worship one Jew, okay?
Yeah, that's still bad. Like it's better than worshiping lots of Jews, but like at least don't worship Jews. Like is
that sounds
good to ask?
No, you're right. But I was going to say that about. That's why I wanted to come on here, because I heard you talking about Romans, about how Paul is kind of philo-Semitic. You were saying, but I think I mean, I don't know if you think it's an incoherent view of Romans, but when he says that in Romans 9, he says that they are not all Israel which are of Israel. So when he says in Romans 11 that all Israel shall be saved, he's not saying that they're literally all going to be saved the way dispensationalists think, right? What he's saying is that all who are believing in Christ are Israel, and therefore all Israel will be saved. All the children of the promise,
like the elect.
Wait, okay, but I'm not. Okay, wait, Toronto. I'm not a dispensationalist, but I also don't fully believe in like replacement theology. I guess like I still think I can't read Romans without thinking there is some relevance to, I guess, the Jewish people. Not in a dispensationalist way,
when he
not
says,
a Christian Zionism way, but
God loves them, man, for sure. God wants us to help. Like Romans 10 is about, he's telling them, he's trying to get the Roman church to send missionaries to the Jews to get them saved, And
it's talking about like that we are grafted onto their tree,
no,
like that, whatever chapter
thing.
that is.
Not their tree, it's God's tree.
So that is
Paul says,
I don't.
He doesn't say it's their tree.
He
Hold on,
literally does.
No, he says
I want
they're
to ask
the
Toronto
natural
about
branches from the tree.
Let me ask Toronto about this. Toronto, like you're saying that Paul's trying to get the Christians to send missionaries to the Jews, but then why does he say that there's a blindness of the Jews until the fullness of the Gentiles comes in? I would think that it's much more clear that he's trying to get them. And this is why a lot of Reformed people who believe this will not missionize the Jews at all, because they believe that until the fullness of the Gentiles come in, there is no way. It's like that is a mercy to the Gentiles that the Jews don't believe in Jesus.
Wow, that's wild. I don't think that's what's going on there at all. I think he's just saying that the blindness is not like God is like hiding Jesus from them, but it's like how you know in Isaiah how he says blind their eyes and harden their hearts and stop their ears, right? It's not that Isaiah has the power to do that. What he's saying is that when you tell them my truth, when you tell them the truth of what I'm telling you to say to them, that is the effect it's going to have on them. That their hearts will harden, but they'll do it to themselves. They'll close their eyes, they'll close their ears.
Isn't it like the Pharaoh? His heart was hardened. It doesn't mean God made him a jerk.
But he is explaining that until the fullness of the Gentiles comes in, there has to be this hardness of the Jews.
Yeah, but that's like the fullness of the Gentiles is just so that everyone can be saved. Everyone who's going to be saved will be saved. But not that he's like hiding it from the Jews. It's just that everyone who is going to be saved is going to be saved. Okay, but the thing of going to the Jews is because they crucified Jesus, right? It's like which God knew was going to happen. So it's like he sends his son, they crucify him, and then it goes to the Gentiles. And then when the fullness of the Gentiles is coming, that is when the last of the Gentiles is saved, or Jews, when everyone who's going to be saved is saved, then that's the end. That's when the end comes,
Well, Jacob, can I ask you a question? I mean, I'm just going to say something that, like, from year 2026, I would have to say that the Jewish people are blind. 20 centuries and you have no other candidate than ours for the Messiah.
What are you
like,
talking
how long
about?
does it take for
Do
you
you
guys
know
to
how
figure
many
out?
candidates there have been?
You
There
didn't miss the boat. The boat
thousands of candidates.
Just wait for the
I
red
have the
heifer,
picture
Ben.
of
They're
one of
working
the
on it, okay?
candidates right here. There's a picture of a candidate right here.
Nice.
He's
I'm just
right
saying
here.
that would you understand? I'm not saying
Is that
I'm not
Netanyahu?
judging you. I'm just saying from our perspective, it's like you've never 20 centuries of obstinate hard-heartedness to fail to see the obvious fulfillment of your scriptures. How in world could
then
you
I
miss it?
have a very simple question for you. Has Jesus fulfilled all of the prophecies of the Messiah?
Yes.
No, not all of them. But we're waiting. It's like
You're waiting for a second coming. We Jews didn't come up with the idea of a second coming. Gentiles came up with the second coming in order to cope. The second coming is the biggest cope in the world.
Can I
ask you another? Can I ask you another question, Jacob? Though this is an interesting question.
He saw it all from up there.
From biblical logic, but Jacob, from biblical logic, when the Jewish people or when his people, the Israelites, fail him, he casts them into captivity, right? He disperses them.
All right.
I just wouldn't the logic be that in 70 AD, you guys were punished for missing something that happened just previous to that? What do you think it could be?
Hold on. There was never an ingathering. Ezra talks about how the Jews did not come back for the second temple.
So as I understand it, the Jewish revolts and the Roman put downs of those revolts were somewhere on the order of
we're not living in Israel back then.
We're somewhere on the order of a million dead, which at the time in the population is much smaller.
At the time,
it was unbelievable.
So Ben, at the time, 10% of the Roman Empire was Jewish.
Wow.
What I'm saying is, in the Old Testament, God punishes the Jews for missing something through a secular power, taking them into captivity, destroying them, whatever, right? Fighting them.
Right.
And so, like, and I'm just curious, right? I understand that in some ways I'm trolling, whatever. You can say whatever you want. But we got to be honest. Like, it looks like there's been a captivity or a dispersion or something that took place in 70 AD.
No.
And Jewish piety was against. Wait a second. Jewish piety was.
You just made your mistake. You said 70 AD, and it was the captivity from before Ezra that was never returned. That was the whole point. The Messiah was going to come and bring back the rest of the Jews to Israel, which Jesus didn't do, Bar Kokhba didn't do, Shabbatai Tzvi didn't do.
No, but like in the second temple Jews, they start to see that there's this they start to see that okay, we built the temple, but the rest of the prophecies weren't coming true. Like, you know, the Messiah.
There was no ingathering of the Jews.
Right. So that's when they started to think there was an eschatological thing, like it was an end times thing, right? So, I mean, there were some Second Temple thinkers thought this way. That's what Christianity is sort of fulfilling, you know. And
well, I mean, Christians cope by saying now and not yet, and second coming.
No, come on.
It's a lot of cope. It's a lot of cope.
No, dude, it's there. It is there. You know what's a good one to look at? Isaiah 61. When Jesus reads it too, Jesus reads it in chapter 4 of Luke, and he reads it up to a certain point, and then he closes the book.
Mm-hmm.
But it says that he's going to come, the Messiah is going to come, heal the sick, like let the blind see, and free the prisoners, etc. And then the other part of the prophecy is that the day of judgment of our God, and then and see, so there's like this. There's this happy Messiah who comes to gentleness and peace, and then there's the day of judgment of our God.
Toronto, so I'm gonna throw my $5,000 challenge at you. Andrew knows this challenge. I'm going to throw my $5,000 challenge at you. That it's not my $5,000 challenge. Many people, like if you can beat this $5,000 challenge, you can. I will personally give you $5,000. I am not joking at all. I will give you $5,000 if you can beat this challenge. And I will tell you right now, somebody came on my channel, tried to do it, right? And Father Stephen DeYoung jumped on to tell him, stop, you're not going to be able to do it. Here's the $5,000 challenge.
You're never going to get $5,000 out of a Jewish guy.
I will give you $5,000
in some way. We know.
I will give you $5,000 if you can give me a single prophecy of the Messiah from the Hebrew Bible that Jesus uniquely fulfilled. $5,000.
Can I do it? Can I do it?
Anybody.
Do it, Dad. We need the money.
All right, Ben.
The promise to Abraham that from your seed there will come as many as the
blessing to all the nations of the earth.
Blessing to all the nations, like the sands of the sea.
So Jesus
Christianity is 2 billion strong.
Fulfilled that? Jesus uniquely fulfilled that?
Yeah,
First of all the nations haven't been, right? Second,
I don't think there's a nation that hasn't heard the gospel.
Second, that's not a prophecy of the Messiah. Third, it's a prophecy about Abraham and his seed. It's not a prophecy of the Messiah. And
we say it.
And third, Jesus didn't uniquely fulfill it.
Who else?
No, he did because it says that shall be a blessing to all the nations. What is it?
Let's start first and foremost with: is it a prophecy of the Messiah?
Well, this is the thing. Abraham, his seed is the Jews, right, or the Israel, right? But
it includes Ishmael. It includes all the kids of Keturah. I'm guessing you know your Bible enough to know
no.
that Abraham had more than 2 kids.
Sure, but the thing is,
Well, if we
though,
include Ishmael, we include the Muslims,
through-
and we got like
through
now we're
Isaac.
at 4 billion.
That which has nothing to do with Jesus. Like this is you're telling me Abraham is the Messiah. Great. Okay.
No. What we're
Well,
saying
but the
is
true
that
seed are the Christians. The
true
Islam is
seed
the
is-
false seed.
it's through Isaac. It's through Isaac. The true seed is through Isaac. The true, even in your view, Jacob, you'll see in the Old Testament, the true seed of Abraham is Isaac's seed, not Keturah's son.
We actually do believe that God saved Ishmael for a reason.
Sure, I'm sure Ishmael is loved and blessed, and he's in heaven or whatever. But I'm just saying
And his seed, like the Bible says, right? So I mean, again,
The Muslims, yes.
it's a very specific request, and all I ask you is please don't just throw things at me over and over and over again. Like, actually, go and find me one thing, right? A single prophecy of the Messiah in the Hebrew Bible that Jesus uniquely fulfilled, and then we can evaluate your single thing. But I'll tell you, it's not just my $5,000 challenge. There's at least $50,000 out there.
Okay, so
wait. If you were to move past the thing of is it a prophecy, who else but Jesus would have fulfilled the prophecy that you shall bless all through you all blessed nations shall be blessed, and your descendants will be like the sand of the sea.
If not Abraham, Isaac.
Ooh, I have one. He was betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. That's specific.
They're gonna deny that.
Zechariah, chapter 11, verses 12 through 13.
Yeah, that's pretty specific.
Yeah, I don't really like fiction.
Where's my 5K?
I like reading
PayPal,
nonfiction.
BraceMthorpe@gmail.com.
Me personally, rumble.com/user/signal66.
I want to hear his response.
I don't like reading fiction.
Epic Reddit atheist take, bro. Epic Reddit atheist take.
Sigcel, don't fuck my 5K, bro. Hold on a second.
And awaiting eternal damnation.
Get your bands, girl. Get your bands.
Enjoy
30
the fires
pieces
of
of
hell.
silver.
I ain't gonna stop you from spinning on that pole.
Go look up that thing. What's the verse?
Zechariah.
Yeah.
Chapter 11, verses 12 through 13. You want me to read it to you?
13. Okay, Toronto's already laughing, so I'm guessing he. How is this a prophecy of the Messiah?
Well, it says 30 pieces of silver, and that's what they paid Judas. So it sounds.
How is this a prophecy of the Messiah?
How is it not? I don't know.
Like where's the word Messiah or King or?
I see what you're saying. Okay.
How is this a messianic prophecy?
Zechariah plays the role of a shepherd.
I was watching a debate by an atheist. He said there is no Messiah prophesied in the Old Testament. So I mean, like,
no, there are.
Well, but I mean that requires interpretation. So you're going to say
no.
The way I interpret it, no. Okay, well, that's easy.
Well, I mean, there are definitely very clear what I, as an Orthodox Jew, like I'm not going to deny my religion in order to deny you your $5,000.
What does the Judaist religion think about you being gay?
Well, the Orthodox and the Jew come in.
There's a reason why. There's a reason why I am.
Jacob, what do the Orthodox Jews think about you being a homosexual?
Me?
Wait, Jacob, are you gay?
I'm not gay. Sorry.
Okay. I thought there was a lore drop there. Wait, Jacob, I wanted to bring something up that a chatter mentioned. And I'm gonna like butcher this because this was like ages ago I looked into this, but the 70 weeks in Daniel, it says the Messiah will be cut off. And if you take those into years, and you've probably seen this before, but if you take it into years and you use like the Jewish calendar, it matches up directly from what I did 10 years ago.
VDMC from my channel. He knows that several people have asked me, what's the best shot anybody has given you? And I've told them, it's definitely the 70 weeks. That's the best shot I have ever heard.
So what's the answer? Because it matches up.
The answer is when you read that chapter, it tells you, wait. That's the answer. like
Does it not?
all,
but if you take it from when it talks about the
say that it's unique that Jesus.
Wait, hold on.
Because in Acts 5.
Wait, hold on. Just I want to say what I remember, and it could be wrong. I'm not looking it up. So, so there's a passage I think in Nehemiah or something when they have the commission to build the second temple, and if you take that year, which is like King Xerxes or something, and we know that what the year is from like history, and if you add up the weeks as years, you literally get to like Jesus being like crucified in like 33 AD or whatever. Like it's like it matches up insanely well, insanely well.
And why isn't it Theudas or Judas the Galilean that are mentioned in Acts 5?
Because they're not the Messiah, Jacob.
I mean,
but they also came and died for. Right?
No,
I don't know those people, but does that not like even apart from the challenge, I guess, Jacob, does that not seem crazy that like it matches up so?
No, it doesn't. I mean, so the secularist, and I do not believe this, but the secularist will say that Daniel was written in order to. Daniel is the latest book of the Hebrew Bible.
Even if it's written late, though. Even if it's
written I'm not saying. I mean. Look, my religion doesn't depend on it either way, right? But yeah, and I believe all of the prophecies of the Bible are insane. The fact that I am still here as a Jew thousands of years after like the Romans tried to kill us, like
no, but you know what? Okay,
that's miraculous. Like I actually believe in the Bible, right?
Okay. All right, look, I can see I'll never get this 5,000, but let me just go back to the
not from me and not from anybody else. But yeah,
let's go back to the idea of coming, because I swear, man, like there's lots of stuff. The thing is, like with the Messiah, there's the Messiah that comes in glory, that comes to conquer the enemies of the Jews.
Right. So I talk a lot about the Josephite Messiah on my channel. Which I'm guessing you've heard of, but most people have not. You seem like I would be really interested in having a one-on-one discussion with you because you seem to actually know your stuff, which is very rare for a Protestant.
Thank you. I think that's a compliment.
It was a compliment.
Nice. Yeah. Send me an email, man. Toronto Bible Study at Gmail. You know, we'll
I think a lot of Protestants know their stuff, but I think Toronto actually understands the logic of Protestantism. Most Protestants say they're all about faith, but in actual fact, we all know the Protestant work ethic is a real thing. Like where Protestantism was, you had this work ethic, which I think comes from this idea. I have to prove by my fruits that I'm one of the chosen ones, which is ironic because the whole idea was that's what the Catholics are doing. And so I think that Toronto is recovering something genuine there, which the Protestants laugh at him and deride him for saying, but like, I actually think that's consistent. A little crazy, but I think it's consistent.
So
Ben, what do you think about like what do you think Jesus would think everyone arguing about these denominations and these specifics? Like, what do you think? How
Jesus was a Jew. He was
this?
disputing with the.
How do you think that God
people
and
in the
Jesus?
Jews love Jesus was a Jew.
It's not
Jews
about how
with
Jews. It's not about what other people think. I'm saying, what do you think they think? What do you think Jesus? What do you think God think about this? Oh, this
I think he loves
denomination and this other denomination and this other denomination and this other denomination, this other denomination.
I think there's a scandal.
That's what you're arguing.
I think there's a scandal of disunity. Actually, we're not. Jacob's not a member of, Jacob's not a denomination of Christianity. But I do think that Christians should have conversations with Jews. I think the Lord would love that.
Toronto, your name is Michael?
You know what's crazy? I feel like I have such a strange and different perspective because I never, it seems to be so prevalent, this negative view of Jews, this like Jewish hatred. It's very strange anti-Semitism. The way I grew up in, I don't know, maybe it was just circumstance. I grew up in New York City. There's Jews around. And I happened to make friends with, I wasn't my landlord. I happened to make friends with this Jewish kid, and he was having his bar mitzvah, and it was a very interesting experience because we were both the same age, and I got to see this sort of different culture. And I don't know, everyone seems to espouse this like hatred from Jews towards Catholics, Christians, etc. But I did not experience that with these people. Espouse is a word. I never experienced this with these people. I never experienced this with these people. They welcomed me into their synagogue as a Catholic. They welcomed me. So I don't know. I don't really understand the anti-Semitism.
It's not nearly as prevalent as the internet makes you think it is, and I have to say, much of it, like, it's generally people who have not really met many Jews. Like, they may have met a Jew or two, but like, anti-Semitism in the United States was not a big thing until very recently. It's gotten a lot worse than it's been in U.S. history. But honestly, like,
I think it's just come to the surface.
Anti-Semitism right now is a lot less bad than it's generally
is that
been.
Actually true, Jacob? I remember I went to like a Holocaust museum and they were showing all the stuff when the Jews were trying to evacuate Germany and stuff, and there's all these like signs of like no Jews welcome. Same with Canada, like people were not accept. I mean, that's more brazen.
But they weren't accepting of. They weren't accepting of any, like, they didn't want to deal with refugees. Like, nobody wanted to deal with refugees during World War II.
You don't think it was more specific about the Jewish people though? Like, I feel like it was maybe a different group.
Well, part of it was that as Christians, there were Christians who felt, oh, we should actually bother to try to save other Christians as refugees. And they didn't feel the same thing about Jews. And let's face it, who were the refugees from Europe during World War II? They were Jews.
Didn't take the Chinese
it's weird. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, you probably know about this. Well, you definitely know about this more than I do. But the pogroms, what Martin Luther said about the Jews, like, there has been a rich tradition in Protestantism and Catholicism of hating the Jews. You know, I mean, this goes back.
Anti-Semitism
forever.
is definitely a real thing. It's definitely existed throughout the world in a very long time. But I do have to say that there's a certain industry in aggrandizing the victim status of Jews, which goes, I believe, a bit too far, and really wants exactly, like, the ADL is. I mean, the SPLC is like for other types, but in a similar manner, I would say the ADL has done similar things, and so, and look. We couldn't say this in the Jewish community when the Holocaust was still a living memory, but now that basically everyone from the Holocaust is almost dead or pretty much dead, we've started recognizing, okay, like, you can't make Judaism be focused on this one thing that's happened. But for a lot of people, like, their Judaism depended on this idea of victimization and stuff, which frankly I don't think is very healthy, right? And so, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of how the post-war what do they call it, the post-war consensus, where World War II became like the axis of human history. Not a huge fan of that.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I've made many videos about this. So
it's the last war that was worth fighting for.
It's the last war in recent memory that people really.
It is the last war that was worth fighting for. Everything else is for land or oil.
And World War II wasn't for land and oil?
Yeah, no, I understand. What do you mean by that? It wasn't?
I think World War II was mostly for land and a little bit for oil. Yeah.
But you know what, Jacob? I think it's like, isn't it kind of like anti-Semitism is real, and so is the idea of the Jewish anti-Semitism industry is also they're both true at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, or they almost feed on each other.
Human beings are complex. But one thing I will say about the 109 countries thing, there's 2 countries that the Jews never got kicked out of. That's China and India. And there's a reason why those 2 particular countries.
Let's go.
What was the reason? I don't know. What's the reason? What's the reason for that?
The 109 thing is like a meme, isn't it, Jacob?
I think
was
it's the
kinda
no
looking into
Christians
that.
or
It's
Muslims.
counted is like doesn't make sense, right?
I mean, yeah, it's whatever. Like Jews, yeah, my family. So I tried to figure out my genealogy, and as best I can figure it out, my family was living in the UK in the 1300s and got kicked out. Like all the Jews were expelled in the 1300s to Spain. Many of them went to Spain. So my family apparently went to Spain. And then in the 1450s, got kicked out of there and ended up in the Ottoman Empire, right? And then here, my family, like, we didn't exactly get kicked out of Iran. In fact, we had to escape, right? So, like, my personal family in the past 1,000 years has fled from country to country to country, like, over and over and over again. That's a reality of being Jewish. But that's also because my family didn't go to China or India, where there wasn't this idea of the Jew. And frankly, most of the Jews who moved to China or India just integrated.
Jacob, let me ask you a question exactly like you're saying right now. Why is it that Jews find themselves struggling to assimilate? Because every other race, Africans, Arabs, etc., Indians, they come to America, they go to Europe, and they assimilate. So my question is, why do you think there's a distinction?
What do you mean?
That's not true.
The Jews,
blacks and whites were separated.
That's not true.
Still are. Yeah.
They're assimilated. What do you mean? Again, Ben Thorpe.
Black and white doesn't.
You're
really
saying
mix.
these things. You understand that there's a difference between blacks and Africans? You understand that, right?
Honestly, look,
the black people do not assimilate to black culture. The black people do not assimilate to the Africans do not assimilate to black culture. You understand that, right?
In America, there was you're Spanish. In America, there was a separation between the races. It was a racist thing.
There is
Native
a separation of
Americans
races
also were
everywhere the
kept
fuck you go.
separate.
What do you mean?
Not really. Not in Spanish countries.
Not really? In what planet?
I don't think in Spanish countries you have this black-white thing.
Yeah, you
Hispanic
do.
Countries.
Again, this is how you're showing how little the fuck you know, dude.
Oh,
you're gonna. That's the dumbest fucking thing you can possibly say. You couldn't say anything further from the truth, buddy. You couldn't say anything further from the truth. Look at Afro-Caribbean history. You're fucking dude. For you to say that, you couldn't be further from the truth, man.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Look at Afro-Caribbean history.
Let me ask
Look
you
at
a
Afro-Caribbean history.
Yeah, you
You couldn't be further from the truth, man.
Mouth now.
Go on. Tell me about how the Caribbeans have a respect for black culture. Please explain that.
What do you think your heritage is?
Explain to me the differentiation between the Haitians and the
Heard of
Dominicans.
Afro-Caribbean history.
Do you have anything to say about that, or are you just gonna fucking yell and complain?
I am not
I have a
talking.
question.
Explain to me
you.
the differentiations between the Dominicans and the Haitians.
I have a question. What is that on your head?
I got a fucking beaver on my head. I just stabbed it to death.
Is somebody gonna kick me? I'm getting tired of this. Can somebody give
This guy is gay. He's gotta go hit the gay bar up.
Oh, you're all.
This guy has to
you're all
hit the
for
Israeli
homophobia,
gay
by the way,
bar up in Tel
anti-Semitism.
Aviv.
Boy, let's
Shout out to this guy in Tel Aviv. He's gonna go hit the gay bars in Tel Aviv.
I'm in Los Angeles.
Jacob is an
we have our own
American,
gay
okay?
bars. Thank you very much.
He's got so many. He's got just as many gay bars as Tel Aviv. Well, okay, I won't go that far. He's got a lot of gay bars though.
They
West
have
Hollywood-
more gay bars than
West
Tel
Hollywood
Aviv.
definitely has more gay bars than Tel Aviv. West Hollywood, definitely. Yeah. Okay.
We went to one of them, right, Grace?
Yes, we did.
In West Hollywood,
I sat
you guys
outside.
been to Los Angeles.
Based.
Didn't hit me up.
He
for-
sat
for
outside
coffee?
watching.
I talked with a guy in a dress who looked like he had AIDS. It was not the most pleasant experience I've ever had.
If you come to Los Angeles,
sex
you gotta
with
go
him.
and get some beer.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah, we definitely have to.
He
go
had
get,
sex with him
not in
while
a
Grace
gay
had
bar,
sex with a lesbian woman.
Hey, chill with the homophobia,
Dang.
dude.
Yeah,
Are
seriously.
you not
I'm
an
not
ally?
homophobic. I respect your homosexuality. All right. You want
You
to
seem
be gay?
obsessed.
It's a free country.
I have a date with a
Listen,
girl
it's
this
not
weekend. When's the
Iran.
last time that happened for you? Never? That's what I thought.
2017.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, that explains
Probably
some of
around the same time for your
irrational
pops
rage.
over here. Bang.
My dad had 6 kids. What did you do? Jerk off in a sock?
I'm gonna jerk
You
off
have
into an
6 kids?
Your
IVF
kids are in the
chamber.
garbage can. Your kids are in the garbage can.
My kids are in IVF chamber. I just busted a nut into it. I'm waiting for a donor.
Confluence, can we take a break from this guy, maybe?
You
I
guys are
think
going
you need to take a break. You need to
late.
take a
I
water
need-
break.
Michael, it was very nice.
Roll
meeting
your
you.
eyes a little
I look
bit more.
forward to having you on my channel soon.
Roll your eyes some more. This nigga's like 50 years old rolling his.
Bye,
Later.
Jacob.
Okay, we will take a break
care,
from 6.
buddy.
We